Here we are in 1973. A new college has been created, and it was a transformational movement.
A student once told us that the accelerators are like a student sanctuary. This is a transformative place. It's an inspirational place. When we're talking about uplifting and improving human lives.
I think it just levels up our game. We've been working in a very kind of small sandbox for 4 years, and now we're really in one of the most technically sound studios probably in the nation.
We're now able to get, like Rosie was an example, get people from non-credit into credit. Adding the bachelor's just gives it one more complete path.
Designers are creating community, they are utilizing the innovations, and they're growing, doing incredible work while they're also creating viable businesses.
When life happened, your professors and the dean of nurses pulled together and say, okay, we're gonna figure this out. Those were the defining moments to me.
Right now is a defining moment for us at the Public Safety Training Center. And it's really based upon bringing Dr. Radford in as a new director.
The truth in TRHT is all about understanding the historical issues and how they've impacted marginalized communities, then talking about solutions. We know that we have the work to do, and we're truly investing in it.
Now we have a 9 lead project throughout the district. ACC is the forefront of the sustainability initiative and leading other higher education institutions in the nation.
As we continue to build more partnerships with faculty, staff, and other partners across the district, the future looks great for diversity, equity, and inclusion. ACC is for everyone, and we're going to prove it.
Good morning, Riverbats. Isn't it great to be back in person? All right. Well, thank you for joining us for this 2022 General Assembly. First of all, I'm going to vary from what I'm supposed to be talking about because I've got to tell you this one quick story. Did any of you have trouble with parking? Have you ever had trouble with parking on the UT campus? Okay, so I had 2 experiences just this week. So earlier this week, I had a lunch meeting over at the UT Club, and so I was driving into the garage, so I stopped to get my ticket, and I couldn't, no ticket would come out. I punched the button, no ticket come out. Punched the button, no ticket. Meanwhile, cars are lining up behind me, and so I look at the screen and it says lot full. I said, okay, well, unless you get a ticket, the arm doesn't go up. So I pushed the button that says call button. So I pushed it and it says, an attendant will be with you momentarily. So I waited a moment and nothing happened. I pushed it again, an attendant will be with you momentarily. So I waited a couple of minutes. Meanwhile, there are 10 cars behind me. And they're thinking, this idiot, doesn't he know how to pull a ticket out? So I pushed it again, an attendant will be with you momentarily. So finally, this man comes up. I don't think he works for parking. He comes up and he says, sir, are you having a problem? And I said, yeah, I can't get through the gate. And he says, yeah, that's because the lot's full. Well, how do I get out of here? There's 10 cars now, there's 12 cars behind me, and they're out into the street. And he says, we have to back them all out, I guess. So he goes from car to car, and he says, can you back out? So 12 cars start backing out into the street, and finally I get to back out and turn around. And I'm thinking, as I'm backing out, and I'm passing these 12 cars now that were behind me, and every one of them is staring at me. And I think, oh, I'm glad they don't know that I'm the chancellor of ACC. So that was earlier in the week. So last night, I come back to UT, go to the same parking garage. Unfortunately, you would think I would learn. This time I got a ticket, but it was last night. It was convocation for the education department. So I got my ticket, parked, went to the meeting, got done, came back out, got in my car, went up to get out, put my ticket in, and it spits it back out. And the arm won't go up. I put it back in, it spits it back out. And I keep doing that, and finally I call the attendant. It says, "An attendant will be with you momentarily." I did that 3 more times, kept putting the ticket in, put my credit card in, spits it back out. Meanwhile, now there's 6 cars behind me trying to get out. And every one of them is thinking, this jerk doesn't know how to get, just put his credit card in. So finally, they back up, I back up, I go over, and I look for the attendant in the parking garage. So I find where the office is, and I pull up, and I walk up to the window, and the window says, "We are temporarily closed. If you need assistance, go to one of these other garages." So I thought, I'll be smart. I'll drive back out to where you get a ticket. I'll get out of my car. I'll walk up like I'm a car and get a ticket. It won't give me a ticket. I guess there are sensors. So this is for all of you to know. There are sensors that know that you're not a car. And so I couldn't get a ticket. So finally, I went up to the UT club and I said, "It won't take my ticket, and I can't get out of here. Please help me." She took pity on me. She gave me a pass, and I got out 45 minutes later. So this morning, I parked at the Rio Grande campus and walked over, and that's absolutely the truth. So with that behind us, I'm excited to welcome those of you who are with us in person, and we're happy to have even more of you who are joining us virtually through live stream. We'll have opportunities for you to interact and engage with us throughout the conversation this morning, so I want to thank you personally. Whether you're with us in person or watching virtually, I am certainly glad that you are with us. I'd like to take a moment before we get started to recognize our trustees who are with us this morning. And the lights are shining, so I can't see everybody, but we have the chair of our board, Dr. Nan McCraven. And I think the vice chair, Dr. Nora De Hoyos Comstock, is going to join us. And then I see Dr. Manny Gonzalez and Gigi Edwards-Bryant and Dr. Barbara Mink. And did I miss any? Okay. We may have more that join us. They're probably trying to find parking right now. And speaking of, we're getting ready to celebrate our 50-year anniversary. And so I would like to have Dr. Barbara Mink stand up again. If you weren't the first employee, you were close. It's always an honor to have our trustees with us for this special event, and I want to thank the trustees for being with us this morning, taking time out of your busy lives to join us. So now I'd like to invite our board chair, Dr. Nan McCraven, to the stage for some remarks from the trustees.
Wow, you're right about those lights. Thank you, Richard. Thank you so much. And It really is a pleasure to be here. I love being with all of you in person and virtually. It's really an exciting time to be at ACC. Let me just pause, Dr. Rhodes, and say that my good friend Mary Harris said, gosh, Nan, don't get up there and give some dry speech about blah, 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 blah. You know, tell a few jokes, you know, be funny or whatever. And actually, Mary, I really don't have to do that. The chancellor just did that for me. So I appreciate the parking story, Chancellor. I'll give you a few tips after this, if that's okay. Anyway, these are defining moments. I love the title of our assembly today. These are defining moments for all of us, whether it's our country and our democracy or our state. I was just at the Community College Finance Commission on Monday, and these are exciting times, actually, for community colleges. The recommendations coming out of that commission, I think, will have some very, very positive impacts on community colleges around the state. And I feel very confident that there will be a significant amount of additional funding coming forward. Now, there will be a significant amount of expectations for us as colleges, no doubt about it, but I am more than confident that this team of people will absolutely meet those metrics, and we are the #1 community college in Texas and probably across the galaxy, as Richard likes to say. So I know we can make that happen. And at the community level, these are interesting times for all of us. We know there are affordability issues combined with workforce issues that we are expected to meet as the #1 provider for training in Central Texas. And Barbara, I think back to when I first came on the board 21 years ago. Barbara's been here a little longer than me, not too much. 21 years ago when we had 6 campuses, and we had not passed our first bond initiative, which we did in 2014, so we didn't have all those incredible buildings that we have today. We now have, obviously, as all of you know, 11 campuses, and our new campus, the Highland campus, is just unbelievable, amazing, and I'm so excited, again, to be part of all of this. So if we go to the next slide, please. Richard was kind enough to introduce our board. Again, having been here 21 years, I've served, of course, all those years with Barbara. Thank goodness there was Barbara. And I've served with various boards, but by far, this is absolutely the best board I've ever served with. We are so diverse, not only in our look, our feel, our ethnicity, in our thinking, but we are so respectful of each other, and all are very, very passionate about this college and what all of you do. So on behalf of this board, again, I will thank you many times during this presentation, but I want to thank you again for making us the college we are today. It doesn't just happen with one person, Richard or his team, it happens with all of you, and I know you'll hear that throughout the assembly today. Next slide, please. I bet you wonder what we do. What do these boards do? What do they do for us? Well, I love this slide because I love little icons. But of course, we are responsible for the budget. We are responsible for setting policy for this college, setting tuition rates, and of course, compensation. And again, we would have loved to have done a lot more in that area, and hopefully we will continue to do more over the years to come. But I think we made a good stab at really giving you more this year than we have ever done in the history that I've been here. Thank you. Thank you for that. And then, of course, we're elected by the community, so community engagement is really one of our key responsibilities, is to bring to our board service the issues and interest of the community, and we really tried to do that. Bonds, as I mentioned, we passed the 2014 bonds, and we are just finishing with the opening, the grand opening, if you will, of the Rio Grande campus. We are just finishing utilizing all that bond money and opening all those campuses, and I will be there. I sort of consider Rio Grande my campus, so I will definitely be at the Rio Grande campus. Next slide, please. Well, you probably better than I know the challenges ahead for all of us. We have program capacity challenges. We are now focused in really 3 regions, and we want to make sure each of those regions has a full complement of programs and can address the workforce needs of each of those regions. The workforce demands are incredible on us and on our community with Tesla, Samsung, Micron. I mean, those are the high-profile companies, but there are so many other companies and so many other organizations that are expecting us to deliver training for their people and for with our students, to have them come out of ACC trained to do high-skilled jobs. And so that is a heavy lift for all of us and all of you. Next slide, please. One of the things that this board, and I know this college is really focused on, is wraparound services. We know that our students can learn. They can learn. It's life that gets in their way, whether it's paying an electric bill, whether it's getting to a site, one of our campuses, whether it's childcare, mental health issues. All of these things impact our students, and probably impact our students more than other students in other institutions. And so I can tell you, every one of your board members and the administration is absolutely committed to providing those services, and we put $1 million in this past budget, $1 million in this past budget to address the issue of childcare. And that will go a long way. I'm very excited to say that. Okay, next slide, please. So what's on the horizon? I think we are now ready. We believe, your board, and we passed a resolution to put $770 million on the November ballot for the community, our taxing district, to support us in the next wave of workforce programs. Let me tell you a little bit about how this happened and a little bit about that package. We have, again, 3 regions, 3 regional advisory boards, councils, and the co-chairs of each of those regions came to us at a board member and said, it's time. You have completed the 2014 package. It's time for us to go out now with all the activity, all the workforce needs across Central Texas. It's time to go now to the voters. We listened. We spent some time going around the community. Each of us has different organizations we belong to. And we went out and we talked to the community before we even voted on this proposition. And we got such positive feedback, I was thoughtful that maybe they would want us to shrink the package, a smaller package, but that was not the case. That was absolutely not the case. They wanted us to go for the full amount. Now, we tweaked it just a little bit, as we should, as your board, and because of our fiduciary responsibility, we tweaked it a little bit, and I like 770. That sort of rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? So let me tell you a little bit about the package. In this package, and one of the things we did, let me just say, years ago, we have been land banking. And so we land banked 100 acres in the southeast region, and then we bought some land near our Pinnacle campus. So with this package, we will be building 2 new sites. And that's huge. That is huge. That will be career technology, education, manufacturing, advanced manufacturing, computer sciences, IT. These will be 2 sites that will be full-service sites for us in the CTE area. In addition to that, We are going to double the capacity in the nursing field. I think all of us know, yes, that needs to happen. And this package includes, I think, $100 million to double the capacity and put that at our Hayes campus. The Hayes campus, as you know, is south, and we think that will be a nice complement to our Eastview campus and our obviously our Highland campus. So that's a huge amount of that 770 are those three items. Again, we have money in this bond proposition for every one of our campuses, every one, including Highland, Riverside, Elgin, Cedar Park, Leander. Every one of our campuses will get some money to enhance those campuses, to better prepare those campuses for the workforce of today and the future. And so I'm here to not just educate you, but as your board chair, we need this community, we need you to be supportive of this bond initiative and to tell all your friends, neighbors, because this is important to our community, it's important to the growth of our community, and we do want to continue to be the most preferred college in Central Texas, and I think this will go a long ways to get us there. So how much is this going to cost? Well, actually, comparatively speaking, this is a very small amount of impact to our taxing entity and our voters. Really, next year, this is not a rate increase, but we will need to increase taxes, and it would be about $5 a year for 5 years. So on a $500,000 house, you would pay an extra $5 the first year, and then $10 the second year, 15, 20, and 25, and then the bonds would be paid off. So we think this is a really good deal for Central Texas, and as you can see, seniors 65 and older and would, of course, pay no tax increase. So we think this is doable. Again, all of the trustees have been out in the community after we approved the resolution, and they are getting incredible support for this bond election, this bond proposal. So let me just close with what is really important in terms of my message today, and that is to really, again, thank all of you on behalf of the Board of Trustees. Thank you for teaching, thank you for supporting, thank you for facilitating, thank you for the incredible innovative programs that I know many of you staff. We, your Board of Trustees, absolutely appreciate what you've done and what you will continue to do for ACC. And so, again, on behalf of all of them, thank you.
You know, one other group I'd like to recognize real quick is University Federal Credit Union. We've got some people here from UFCU with us this morning. I'd like them to stand up. For those of you who don't know, they just made the largest contribution to ACC's foundation in the history of the college, $5 million. So give them a round of applause. So, thank you, Nan, for all the kind words and the support of the trustees that we know and that we feel as a college family every single day. So thank you very much. Now it's one of our favorite moments of General Assembly. So I would like to invite our provost, Dr. Monique Umphrey, to the stage to help me with recognizing our employees. We pause to recognize truly exceptional river bats. which I know every single one of you is, but we will go through some specific examples. So you could roll that. First, our supervisor certificate cohort. And you've got a list of the program cohort members on the screen. If you're here, would you please stand up? Next is our Leadership Academy participants. A list is on the screen, and if you are here, please stand up. Next, our new department chairs. A list is before you. Please stand up. Next, I'd like to recognize our employee associations. We value shared governance and the input of our employee associations. Would the officers of the Classified Staff Association please stand? Professional Technical Association, please stand. Our Adjunct Faculty Association, officers, please stand. And our Full-Time Faculty Association and Senate, please stand. My deepest thanks goes out to each of you and your continued contributions to ACC, our employees, and especially to our students. So thank you for your support. Thank you for your input and your activity with us. I'd like to take this opportunity now to recognize the work of faculty who seek, and to do that, we have our illustrious provost, Dr. Monique Humphrey.
Thank you, Dr. Rose. And at this time, we want to recognize the work of our faculty who foster excellence and innovation. If we could have the following cohorts please stand. Our Teaching and Learning Academy graduates, if you could stand for us. All right. Our Teaching and Learning Academy program leads. The inaugural class of the new ACC Service Academy. Our Faculty Course Redesign Research Fellows. Please stand. Great. Our Faculty Course Redesign Research Fellows Program Leads. And the inaugural class of the new ACC Equity Certificate.
Thank you, Dr. Humphrey. Lastly, we have some special groups to acknowledge. With the following cohorts, please stand. Our new faculty onboarding participants. Staff who are new to ACC for this academic year, please stand. And the planning committee for the new Retirees Association, please stand. Welcome back. Thank you for what you're about to be doing for us. Now to our top Riverbat of the Year. It's time to present the Riverbat Bravo Employee of the Year Award. This award goes to someone who has done remarkable work over the past year, especially. This individual loves their job, although I know it says his job, so that's the first clue. He enjoys helping and teaching people by applying his professional experience and certification knowledge of networking, operating systems, and hardware solutions. I guess that's the second clue. This individual is helpful. He worked to support Round Rock's reopen. That's the third clue. While also supporting the reopening of Highland and Rio Grande campuses. Additionally, he volunteered to help distribute laptops while also helping with imaging and setup of new equipment at Highland and Rio Grande. Lastly, he did all of that while also testing and implementing our remote support software solutions. He was more than flexible in adapting his schedule to fit the needs of the college, even when members of the team were affected by COVID. Many had to tend to sick children, spouses, or parents, so he and others on the team stepped in when needed to maintain service coverage. It is our honor to recognize our Riverbat Employee of the Year. Okay. Jeff DeLeon. Jeff, could you please make your way to the stage? Okay, you don't get to sit down, you have to come up here.
I really wasn't prepared for this, so I don't have a speech or anything. And wow, you're not kidding, the lights are bright. I appreciate it. I've worked for ACC for a while, and I try to help all the faculty, staff, everybody, because we're a community. You know, my mom always said, we're a village. Everybody needs to help everybody. So I try every day to help everybody, make sure that the things they need are done. So I guess that's really it. I don't.
Thank you, Jeff. So now I'd like to present to you our 2022 General Assembly video.
The first defining moment, as far as Austin Community College is concerned, came in December of 1972 when the college received approval from voters of Travis County. The creation moment. We were giving birth to Austin Community College.
Austin Community College is a vehicle for upward mobility. That's why DEI is so important to what we do here at ACC and beyond.
I think it's where all the cool kids are. And when I say cool kids, I mean our students, our faculty, our staff, and our community partners. This is a safe place to convene and to tackle some of the tough conversations and tough issues that help to make us closer as a community.
I'm so proud what ACC achieved over the years. Also, I'm so proud how our communities, our students, our employees, and our faculty are being part of and helping us to becoming a better institution in terms of sustainability.
The brands and their teams are creating additional products, and these are So one of the things that we're especially proud of with what we've been able to create with the Fashion Incubator is the physical space that our designers are able to work and build their brands from. This is a space where Designers are creating community. They are building long-term engagements. They are utilizing the innovations, and they're growing, they're connecting, they're training here at the Fashion Incubator.
When I first joined the incubator, I wasn't a traditional designer, so I didn't have a background in the design industry. The incubator literally held my hand, walked me step by step through the whole process, from tech flats all the way to production.
So these defining moments are really about what's happening in our world, from the unfortunate circumstances that we found ourselves in for the pandemic, and now being able to transform those things that really felt like setbacks into wins for our community.
The reason the advanced manufacturing programs here at ACC are so important is because most of the companies that are in Austin area are growing, or we have a lot of new companies coming into the area and they need employees to help them grow their business. To me, it's the defining moments are when I can see that we've touched someone's life and made it better for them so that they can provide for their family. And Rosie's a great example of that, and I'd love for her to share her story.
I was a cosmetologist for 10 years, and after the pandemic and having my son, I decided I wanted a career change. And Tessa was, of course, coming to Austin, so that piqued my interest in manufacturing. And as I looked into getting educated, I, of course, found ACC and all the different career paths that they have. I like that they have their career paths in smaller segments, so that way it fits me and my young son and my family. So I took the CPT program, that's the 8-week program, and after that I continued on and got a few more classes in for the associates, and I'm working towards getting my associate's degree. I also teach the soldering techniques classes here at ACC, and I recently got a job at Apple on the iPhone hardware team.
I think moving into this new state-of-the-art 21st century studio definitely is a defining moment. I think for all of us, we're learning from some of the best through Austin PBS and the PBS organization. And, you know, I actually think ACC TV has quite a bit to offer as well in this partnership. Kai mentioned it a little bit before, but this workforce pipeline that we've been developing, I mean, we're kind of doubling the amount of interns we typically hire, and they'll be starting in September. And again, the goal is to really let the reins free. You know, once we're all trained and kind of ready to rock and roll, we're gonna let those interns go out and create some programming and add that programming to the channel. We do want to produce professional, important, and necessary content, absolutely. But as Kai said, I mean, I think we want to bring the fun and the entertaining back to the channel. And we have shows that do that. We now have interns that can help us produce that. And I mean, that is really going to be a defining moment, because I don't know if there's a bunch of other channels around the US that can say they're doing that or working towards that, you know?
Yeah. I mean, probably the state-of-the-art facility in Texas, wouldn't you say?
I think I'm gonna say in the nation.
Yeah, in the galaxy.
There you go.
I would say the pandemic and everything that, you know, happened to our worlds as a result would be defining moments.
It didn't stop us, right? It made us stronger together. It made us figure it out. And that defines us, right? Mm-hmm. That defines the work that we're committed to doing. And to me, it was like the pandemic. It's kind of crazy to think of, God, all the great things we really learned out of it, right? And so it defines us as people who are committed to the work at ACC and the challenges. Bring them on. We'll figure this out together.
For me, I didn't take into account that life wouldn't stop. Life continued. And when life happened, the faculty was here. And that right there, you can't buy that with money. You can't purchase that. Those were the defining moments to me.
For me as a dean, I feel like we always have to be at the forefront of training, and we have to think differently and think more expansively and be more creative with how we approach our processes. So the most wonderful aspect of bringing Dr. Radford in has been just the interaction we've had. I love dialogue, I love discussion, I love debate, which we definitely have had, but also it's a merging of two worlds. Todd comes from the world of law enforcement, I come from the world of higher education, and somehow or another we're gonna get there, is we have to merge these two worlds together to really create a very successful training facility that will really address the needs of first responders. So merging our two roles together is definitely a defining moment for the Public Safety Training Center.
And I couldn't agree more. I mean, this is the moment in time when we have a great space to be able to bring, as you said, education, training, higher education, law enforcement into an arena at the Public Safety Training Center where we're going to be offering tomorrow's training to tomorrow's officers. For me, it's at the end of the day, can we provide quality training and education to increase excellent policing strategies and service in this country and in this state and in our communities? I think ACC and the Public Safety Training Center can do that.
When you think about defining moments, it's when you walk around and you see the interaction between faculty and students and the connection. And then you see the student affairs staff who are helping with scholarships and registration. And then you see community involvement coming in and supporting. And all that flawlessly working together, and students walking out saying, man, I'm so glad that I came into the accelerator. The accelerator has a 99% rate from students telling other students to come use the space because of services. So that's one of the defining moments to say, wow, look at all these different things that's happening, and we're working and making it happen, and we're reducing that silo. We're creating a collaboration that we've never seen before.
I think the magic is in the relationships, right? So when we've established relationships with each other as a team, that is felt by anyone who walks in the door here. So they're greeted with a smile, they're greeted with some kindness. They know that when they step in here, we care. And that's powerful. I think that goes a long way for people feeling seen, feeling valued, feeling heard, and that this is a spot they want to hang out.
When we're talking about the energy and sustainability, it's not really just about recycling, or it's not just about turning off the light. It really touches on everything, every life, our daily life. That being said, we've done a really great improvements throughout the district in terms of the physical learning environment. But after all, we are higher education. We are working on a various fronts on improving our academic side of how we can incorporate sustainability. So we are trying to work with our faculty members to include these sustainable development goals, incorporating into our learning objectives, and then improving our students' outcome in that regards.
ACC is for everyone. We truly believe that, we truly mean that, and we're truly investing in it. No, we're not perfect, but we know that we have the work to do, and we know that we want to make this the best place, the best institution, the best campus experience, the best in-class and out-of-class experience for everyone.
This community, the Austin Central Texas community, has benefited enormously from Austin Community College. The college has become now one of the most dynamic and most important organizations in this entire Central Texas area. It's absolutely vital.
When Reverend Fontaine and Reverend Brown on this historical mural did what they did, they had no idea it would lead up to all that ACC has become. So we're confident that what we're doing now in the future is going to make tremendous transformational changes, not just in Austin, not just in Texas, and not just in America, but in the world. ACC is for everyone, and we're going to prove it.
Wow. Watching that video, doesn't it make you proud to be a river bat? That was an impressive video. So Susie and your team, T-LED, all of the T-LED, please stand up. Matt, your whole crew. That was amazing. Thank you. Thank you. I know all of you are thinking, because, usually Mike Midgley shows up in these videos. So, did any of you notice within that video the defining moment? The Mike Midgley defining moment? Think about the fashion incubator and the model who walked across the screen. I think that was Mike Midgley. So this is definitely one of our defining moments at ACC. General Assembly is a time for us to come together and take a look at where we've been and what we've accomplished, but more importantly, where we're going next. So we're going to talk a little bit about that this morning. And let's see, I'm supposed to have the clicker up here. There it is. So there's a lot of defining moments at ACC. And this year, we kick off 50 years of learning and growing together. It was in the fall of 1972 that our community voted and approved the creation of Austin Community College. We're going to celebrate big, and right now, it's the kickoff of our 50-year celebration. Then in December, we'll celebrate the founding of ACC. In the spring, we'll host a celebration of community homecoming at our Rio Grande campus. By the fall of 2023, when we'll commemorate the day we first opened our doors 50 years prior, we'll celebrate with a massive homecoming and reunion. Imagine a multi-day festival celebrating ACC. We'll continue those celebrations through the year, up to May of 2024, when we'll honor our first graduating class of ACC. So hang on, because it's going to be a lot of fun, and we want you to get involved. The 50th anniversary celebration is a chance for all of us to connect, collaborate, celebrate, and grow. We'll have opportunities throughout the year and then some. First, if you didn't already, be sure you pick up your special 50th anniversary t-shirt. I've got mine. I meant to wear it up here. This is the first day to get t-shirt. So grab one while you're here. Next, keep your eyes out for a special new website for our 50th anniversary. It's coming soon. And finally, today, when we wrap up our morning session, there will be a video booth set up just beyond the doors here. So we invite you to stop by and leave your ACC story. It's amazing to have these stories we hear from those who have walked our halls, from those who have taught here, worked here, learned here, and we want to capture those incredible moments. They are the stories that define who we are. And I encourage you to leave your story. There will be opportunities over the course of the celebration months. If you can't do it today. One of the stories I want to tell you, though, is this past year, we had the U.S. Secretary of the Department of Education here. One of his aides that was with him pulled me aside as we were taking the tour, and she said, I'm a graduate of ACC. And then she went on to say, I attended at the Rio Grande campus, and that is where I met my husband, in the biology lab, of all places. So, what starts here, there's more to that story, I think. So, I will try to make this work again. So, okay, great. So the growth through the years, looking here where we are today, it's easy to see that this has been quite an incredible journey. In 1973, We opened with 177 employees, 1,726 students, and 1 campus. Today, there are more than 5,500 employees who make ACC run day in and day out. And we serve more than 70,000 students a year in our programs. And we're out in our community with 11 campuses, and as Nan mentioned, 2 more on the way. The kind of growth speaks for the power of education. And when we think about our mission at ACC, we think about our service to students and to the community. We think about the lives we can impact by making education accessible, affordable, and meaningful. And when we say affordable, I want to take a minute just to recognize the trustees. Do you realize that it has been 9 years straight that the trustees have voted not to raise tuition to our students to maintain the affordability? And I bet if you stop for a moment to think about it, you'd realize that your time at ACC has also just as much of an impact on your own life. Well, think about how many of you actually met your spouse at ACC or your partner. How many of you had kids while you were working at ACC? Okay, there's a handful of you. So, to think about what comes to your mind when you think of our college, when you think about what we do, why we do it, when you think about the ways ACC has defined you as an individual, I'll tell you that for me, being a part of this institution, this great institution called Austin Community College, is one of the things I'm most proud of in my life. When I'm on campus and I meet our students and I talk to you, our staff and faculty, I'm always left feeling inspired and determined to do even more. And that's the one thing I love about working here is to walk around and hear the stories, not only from our faculty and our staff, but from our students. The stories are what inspire me. That's one more thing that never ceases to amaze me, the stories. I see the spirit, I see this passion that you have for this community and for the students. In the end, I truly do see your passion because you all believe that student success is why we are here, and you're changing the world. That's not a slogan UT can hold alone. I gotta do this. Our students are why we do what matters. So I want to take a moment to bring a few of our students up on the stage with me. And so everyone, please help me welcome Christine, Roderick, Angelica, Elizabeth, and John. Okay. Now we get to have a conversation. So, the first thing I want to know, and I think my mic is on. Can you hear me? Okay. First thing I want to know is what brought you to ACC? And so let's start with the Black Hawk helicopter pilot.
What brought me to ACC was the dance program.
The dance program. Okay. So Elizabeth, if you didn't know, she was a Black Hawk helicopter pilot, actually.
And Chinook.
And Chinook. I didn't, wow. And you love dance.
And I love dancing.
Okay.
I have a master's degree from UT in exercise and sports psychology.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to dance.
And you saw the light and you came back to the best institution.
And I have been here since 2019.
All right.
And I'm on my third program.
Third program. All right. So, It's, how many of you know the river bat sign? You know it, right? Okay, so sometimes we do this because, you know, it's not from ACC to UT. As you just heard, it's from UT to ACC. Okay, Angelica, what brought you to ACC? Our TikTok face?
Well, I start an ACC because the ASL classes. Yeah.
And?
Now I'm working at ACC.
All right. Angelica is one of our interns, a paid intern, I might add, right? Okay. Roderick, so what brought you to ACC?
Okay, so the story of me coming to ACC, I had initially tried to tell a friend of mine to get into ACC, and she was like, "No, you ought to." Well, I was telling her to get into ACC for real estate because of the way the Austin market was. I felt like I didn't have the time for it because I worked like 22 hours a day. So I was like, "Could you get out? You should do this. You should do this. You should do this." She's like, "You should do it." I'm like, I don't have time." She's like, "Well, I enrolled you. They accepted you." And so real estate is what brought me to ACC, but a friend of mine is what got me into ACC. And it's been great ever since. I love ACC.
And you already have your real estate.
I already have my real estate degree, and I'm currently back enrolled for marketing.
Marketing?
Yes.
So you're going to market yourself into real estate?
Absolutely. I owe it to myself.
Okay. So Christine, what about you? What brought you here?
So my parents immigrated to the U.S. from Vietnam, and then they had me, and I am the first in my family to graduate high school and attend college. And so I went to ACC because I wanted to break that barrier, and I wanted to prove to my parents and to myself that it is possible to do this.
And you're going to be a nurse one of these days. All right. And John?
Well, I was in hospitality and food and beverage for most of my life, and I've done pretty well, but there were other parts. And so a few years ago, I went and took this expensive 2-day aptitude test to figure out what I could do, and it said hospitality, food and beverage. But there was also editing there, so I went to the RTF program, and editing isn't really my bag, but I really enjoy it, and they saw something in me, and they put me up for an internship with Austin Community College Television, and it's one of the best experiences of my life, so I'm very grateful.
Yeah. And a future stand-up comedian, I think, too. So I'm going to come back. So Elizabeth, what would you tell other students about ACC? Why they should be here?
I love this school. This is, I've been in a lot of schools. I've been in the Army for 11 years. I led soldiers in combat, and this school and institution has set itself up to teach and train the students to go work, to go and do what they want to do, and to be who they're supposed to be. I cannot say enough about Austin Community College, seriously. There's about 3 other programs I'd love to get into here. Faculty here is world-class, top-notch. My weightlifting instructor was an Olympic athlete. My dance instructors were incredible. The motion graphics professors work in the real world, and they train us to do the real work. And I'm in the RTF program right now, and I've already written, directed, and edited my own short. This
Wow.
is where you come to get your life back.
Wow. So helicopter pilot, and you're taking weight training. I'm not going to mess with you. That's for sure. So. And Helica,
Okay.
what would you tell people?
Well, ACC for me, or I would say, is a great place to start. Start like working on who you want to be. It has all the tools, all the what you need to get where you want to be. I started in ASL classes, and then now I'm working at ACC, and I just transferred to Texas State, and and yeah, like ACC gave me like everything that I needed to get to Texas State and to start and to be sure like what I wanted to be. I'm studying digital media innovations, and if I wouldn't be part of ACC, I wouldn't be like able to decide what I wanted to be. So I'm glad.
Great. So what's your favorite TikTok that you've done?
I like the one of the new ones that I'm like sitting in the stairs at ACC Highland, and I'm like studying, and then I appear in one side and then in the other side, and then it's really funny.
Okay. I'm going to view that. So, Roderick.
So the first thing I would tell students coming to ACC, I would say, if you're looking for a defining moment in your life, ACC is a place for you. I would let them know that it's very supportive, very helpful to staff, faculty, students. Everyone is supportive, helpful, and at your beck and call. If you're looking to further your career, you're looking to be successful, you're looking to find peace and unity, ACC.
All right. Peace and unity. I like that. Christine.
So what I would tell other students who are interested in going to college, ACC is very unique in the fact that there is endless support. I am also a single mother, and so there is a program here at ACC called Adults Career Scholars, and it offers a unique opportunity for those who are trying to juggle the work-life college balance, because I believe that a lot of students who attend ACC, we are working, we are parents, we have a lot on our plate, and sometimes it just doesn't seem attainable to try to balance out everything or try to do everything at once. And so after going to ACC, I realized that, again, the faculty, your classmates, everyone here is invested in you. And we are going to have to start here to get there, but we're all in this building, we're all in this room, and that means that we're here together and that we are working towards something. So
Yeah. And you were in our first cohort of Career Scholars, right?
I'm actually, I got a job working for Adults Career Scholars too.
John.
Well, I'm a parent of a college-age kid, and so I run into a lot of young people that are just graduating high school, and some of them aren't really certain what they want to do. And when I meet those kids, I say, there are people at ACCs. This is what they do. This is what they're passionate about. You can come here. You can learn how to earn a real living doing something that's awesome. And you can make it, and you can make it here in Austin, and this is what ACC does. So, hopefully I plant seeds for people, and then when they're ready to take that risk and put themselves out there, they'll come here, and ACC will do exactly what they do, and they're gonna do just fine, And And I do that all the time. I find myself doing that quite a bit. And it's working sometimes. Sometimes it works. Sometimes maybe it's going to take a year or two for some of them, to work in the service industry for a while. And then they'll get here.
So, Elizabeth, back to you. And this will be our last question. Tell me one defining moment at ACC for you.
I would say the big one for me, single mom also, I have a 9-year-old, who, the younger generations are definitely more advanced in technology than we are. He's already getting into filmmaking. And I've had to bring him with me to a couple classes already, but there's a 12-year-old in my film editing class who is in it with his father. He's a prodigy. And I was able to bring my son to one of those classes and meet this little boy named Deep and kind of show my son that education just continues and you can do what you want to do. And my professors all know him. His name is Sterling. And it's just been really wonderful being able to continue my education and be a good mother. With the pandemic, having to go to Zoom for a lot of our training and our classes has been imperative. And that flexibility is allowing me to continue my education and make dinner.
What's for dinner? All right. Angelica,
Okay.
one defining moment.
One defining moment for me was last year. It was a normal day. I was going to it was the first day of reopening after the pandemic. And then I was in the ACC Highland campus. And I was walking there. I was going to a class. And then I saw that y'all have the casting. And I was like, should I try it? I was like, okay, let's try it. And I did it, and I wasn't prepared for it at all. I was just going to class, and that's it. And I did it, and and now I'm working here, and I never thought that doing that casting was going to actually change my life. Because after that, I had the opportunity to not only work for ACC, but also for discover what actually I really want and what actually I really like. I really like social media. I thought I only like to talk and be, nice on social media. But I actually like how social media works and everything like that. And yeah, that was definitely defining point.
Great. So from ESL to performer.
Yes.
Congratulations. So Roderick, defining moment.
A defining moment for me at ACC, it was my second semester of last year. And my teacher, Miss Akers, I don't know if anyone of y'all are familiar with Miss Akers. She's definitely a big role in my life. I have two little ones that I monitor during the day while mom's at work, and so I'm not able to get much done during the day, and then at night when she gets off, so I'm trying to get some rest so that I can get up for the next day. So I was getting backed up in Miss Akers' class, and she was just like, well, you have to get these assignments in, and she gave me a deadline, and I didn't meet that deadline. She was like, I'm going to give you this last shot. I don't have to do this, but I'm going to give it to you. She gave it to me. And I can't thank her enough for that moment. That moment was a change in my life for someone to give me an extra shot that she didn't have to do. I was falling behind. That was my mishaps. And she gave me that extra push to get over that line. And that was my moment.
Life gets in the way, but when somebody cares,
it's amazing.
You feel it.
You know it.
Yeah. Christine.
A defining moment for me was having my son during COVID. That kind of just put a pause in my life, aside from the world being shut down. But I was also trying to figure out how to care for a newborn, and I had no idea how to do that, so I was Googling away and researching. And at that time, I didn't think that I was going to be able to attend college just in the moment. And then I decided to just keep researching, and I looked at ACC and found so many programs and assistance that is available. And one of the defining moments for me was whenever I applied for childcare assistance and daycare assistance, because that was what led me to go back to school full-time and also be a full-time mother. And so I just, like Roderick said, there are so many organizations and opportunities, and it's out there, and you have to push to find it, and you have to believe that, you know, you can achieve that, and you can be accepted or approved into whichever program or path that you want to go into. And so it just all goes back to ACC and how we are a community, and we understand, right, that there are things outside of just your education. There's life. And so the child care assistance, Dr. McRaven stated $1 million in child care. That changes everything, especially for ACC students who are parents or who may need that assistance in order to work towards their education and have a better career.
Thank you.
Defining moment?
Yes.
It was a lighting class I took. It was during the pandemic. It was online. And taking Zoom classes with young people is kind of cool because they don't really have the presence of mind to arrange the space behind them. And so in this lighting class, it became necessary for us to step away from the computer and use these lights. And so you got even deeper into their homes, you know what I mean? Deeper into their space. And it was actually more intimate in a way than taking classes in the same room. And that was kind of where I kind of thought, like, wow, you know, you're learning about someone and you're feeling, and that's documentaries, you know. So that was when I decided I wanted to be in documentaries, you know.
Okay. I said that was the last question, but one last word from each of you. So, Elizabeth?
I just want to say thank you to all my professors. I've been in the dance program, the motion graphics design program, and now the radio, television, film program. So thank you for whoever's hiring the faculty and whoever's hiring here, because I have had some of the best educators, and I'm just going to say it right now, Jessica Cox, where are you? Stand up. She's here. She's one of my dance professors, and she's amazing. I ran into her in the hallway, and every time I see her, we just get big hugs. So, yeah, thank you for everything you're doing, because, you know, life continues. Education is what it is, and it is the path to freedom.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Angelica, last word.
Okay. I have to say thank you to Jessica and Liliana and Andrea, who has been the people that have been there with me, teaching me all the stuff that I didn't know about communication and social media. And I'm really glad and thankful for giving me the opportunity to work here and to discover myself. Thank you so much.
Last word, I would say education is essential. Education is never final. Reach for the stars.
Christine.
My last words is something that I ask myself, and if not now, then when? And I find that that question aligns with ACC because you have to start here to get there. So you have to start somewhere. And I think that with anything, you should ask yourself, if not now, then when?
Last word. There's a teacher that I had here that's moved on to Colorado the semester previous. His name was Jay Hubert. And I hope that somehow a message in a bottle can get to him that I say thank you and thanks for doing for me what he just did every day and the job he knew to do. But I was just lucky that I was in a position that he could do it for me, and I wish him the best. And,
So with that, join me in thanking Elizabeth, Angelica, Roderick, Christine, and John. Absolutely fantastic.
Absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now you know why that is my absolute favorite part of the program. Aren't those students inspiring? And what you heard from them is where the inspiration comes from. One of the things I want to mention too, because some of you might not be aware of this, but the trustees made possible, starting a few years ago, $300,000 that's dedicated every single year for child care support, so that students can have child care at wherever they need to have it. But most recently, the $1 million that Nan talked about that's in this year's budget is to take a look at a pilot project for childcare on a campus, one of our campuses. So we're going to be working diligently to make that happen. And you know how important that is when you listen to student voices. Our best achievements. It's safe to say that our students are our best achievements. But I also want to take a moment to recognize you, because all you do to make their success, our success, is incredible. And I truly want to thank you. There's a lot to be proud of, and you're the center of it all. Over the past year, we've done more than ever to adapt our ways of teaching, to do more to meet students where they are, and whether it's online, different options, hybrid models, high flex that's coming into this semester. Our classrooms are advanced spaces to engage, interact, and grow. But we know that a student's success extends beyond the classroom, and we have to support them all along the way, and that's exactly what you just heard from our student voices. Our student support teams are doing incredible things, from free tutoring and library services to financial aid, just-in-time interventions, and coaching. Our students are getting to the finish line. And if you haven't heard, ACC now has the fastest growing completion rates in the state of Texas. And that's a testament to the work that's happening here to support our students in every way possible. And thanks to our strategic partnerships, we're embedded directly with our workforce and industry partners to help ensure students get the experience they need while they're learning and the job opportunities that they're seeking when they graduate. When I think about our defining moments at ACC, I think all of those things, and I also think about everything that's happened over just the past 5 years or so to really grow our college. In 2014, our community put their faith in us when they approved $385 million bond package to build new campuses, expand our facilities, and transform the learning spaces throughout. We made good on that promise, And I want to play now, I'll show you just what we did with those bond dollars. So we have a video for you again to see.
This is Central Texas, and something exciting is happening here. More than 2 million of us call it home. We're growing, thriving. The engine behind it all is Austin Community College. When voters approved 2 bonds in 2014 asking the college to do more to keep Austin innovating, ACC embarked on a mission to make every dollar count. Today, there are new campuses, facilities, and programs that deliver on that very promise. We broke ground on the new San Gabriel campus in Leander in spring 2016. Today, it serves one of the fastest growing areas in the region and offers general education courses and ACC's renowned Accelerator Learning Center. Across the district in Elgin, we established new, specialized facilities to fuel careers in veterinary medicine and agriculture. Here, our students are getting real-world, hands-on experience caring for animals and tending to crops and livestock so that when they graduate, they're prepared for the workforce ahead. Further north, in Round Rock, we expanded our campus with a new general education building featuring advanced classrooms and an accelerator. Now we can serve even more students and grow programs in high-demand industries like healthcare. On the other end of the district, we created a learning space like no other. The Public Safety Training Center at Hayes Campus is a state-of-the-art first responder center. The center features a tactical indoor firing range, modular training rooms, specialized classrooms, and a 19-acre driving course. In Central Austin, we took what was once Austin's first shopping mall and turned it into a learning community. At ACC Highland, students prepare for creative careers and jobs in manufacturing, culinary arts, and healthcare. The classrooms, studios, and labs mirror the workforce and are transforming the landscape of higher education, putting ACC among the top in the nation when it comes to learning, teaching, and collaborating in our community. ACC's Rio Grande is carrying this collaborative spirit forward. The college started a massive renovation project to provide critically needed updates to the 100-year-old building. From the outside, the history stands, preserved for time. Inside is a 21st century campus with classrooms, innovative labs, an accelerator, and the nation's only software factory created in partnership with Army Futures Command. Throughout the entire district, ACC made capital improvements, safety and security upgrades, technology enhancements, and we've prepared for the future with land banking in southeast Travis County for a future workforce training center. We've done a lot over the past 7 years to keep our community strong and provide opportunity for everyone who calls Central Texas home. With every dollar of support, we're building better futures. ACC is Central Texas. It's your home, and something exciting is here.
It all comes to a wrap next month with the final ribbon cutting celebration of the 2014 bonds. And I want to take this moment to invite you all to that celebration. We'll be at the Rio Grande campus on Tuesday, October the 11th at 9:30 a.m. to commemorate this final milestone. Then in February, we'll host a large community open house. You know, and as I walk around and I talk to different people in the community, it's surprising how many people attended that campus when it was Austin High School. I say it's the first Austin High School. It's actually probably the second, maybe third because of some fires. But it is incredible, the support and the memories that exist for that facility. Now, I hope to see you there because we couldn't have done it without you. Every Riverbat played a role in these projects, and our work continues today. From our project management teams who oversaw the construction, to our facilities team who coordinate the move-ins, our grounds and maintenance teams who keep everything looking great day in and day out, our student support teams who are on the campus every day helping students navigate their journeys, our faculty who are not only teaching in these classrooms, but as you heard, but who are also helped design the future of learning when we started the design and construction of all of these projects. You all played a role, and I want to thank you. You know that the past few years have been tough. I feel that. I know that. Your colleagues know that. It's not easy doing what we do, and it's especially not been easy during a pandemic. But these are the days when you may feel overwhelmed and even lost, like I did in the parking lot. And truly, I get that, because this has been a difficult period of time. But I hope that in these moments, ACC can be a place where you find hope and inspiration. But I know that's not always the case, and it's up to us to create the environment that we all want and that we all deserve. I see the passion and I see the kindness we give our students every single day. It's just as important that we give that to one another too. Civility is key. Civility is key to the future. We've got to see that here. We don't see it at the national stage, sometimes in the state stage, but at ACC, that's where we have to see it. We can call it our fourth C, civility. So connection, collaboration, caring, and civility. I expect it of everyone who works here, because it does matter. It does make a difference as to what happens in the classroom. It does make a difference on how we provide the services necessary for every one of our students to be successful. So thank you for making this a part of what you do as a Riverbat. And the ways that we treat one another is quite possibly one of our most defining moments. Let's define together for the future. And as we move forward, I encourage you to think about the lessons we've learned along the way. So much good has happened, and yet more is needed. Our community continues to grow. How we meet these growing needs is now up to our community. You heard it from Dr. McCraven earlier that we are now getting ready to take that next step. In August, our board approved a new bond that provides new work in every region of the district. From new construction and campus upgrades to expanded support services and increased training opportunities, our community will vote in November. And if that bond is approved, we'll begin the work immediately starting in 2023. As Chancellor of ACC, I'm not able to advocate for or against the bond. However, you can advocate as long as you don't do it on college time or with college resources. So please remember that in the weeks ahead, as the election nears, that's important. So our priorities and what guide us in our work underneath our strategic plan as an institution, this year we have 6 core themes. You can see them on the screen. It's equity, enrollment, learning and retention, wellness, modernization, and effective work. Our provost will share more later about some of these priorities shortly. Before I turn it over, I want to explain a bit about how we make it all happen. You hear about our strategic plan. It's the foundation of all we do. Right now, we're carrying our old strategic plan forward for one additional year. We're using this time to evaluate lessons learned through COVID. Normally, we would have undertaken this a couple of years ago. What we wanted to do is push it back and learn from what has happened in the last 2.5 years. We're now beginning the planning for our next strategic plan, and I hope you'll be a part of that process. There's a session this afternoon, and that's where we'll dive into phase 1, and that's what we call strategic ideation. Please stick around if you can. Phase 2 is when we'll start to build the plan, and phase 3 is when we put it into action. This is going to happen, this will be a year-long process that we're going through, and we'll share opportunities to participate all along the way during this coming year. So now, it is my pleasure to welcome to the stage our new provost. She may have just started last December, but I can tell you already she is making a definite difference in defining ACC for the future. So please join me in welcoming to the stage our provost, who is fantastic, fabulous, and fun. So here is Dr. Monique Humphrey.
First of all, as we take a few minutes to think about what we have learned over the past few years and how we're going to move forward, when we think about the defining moments, it's really an opportunity for us to stop and reflect and connect. Dr. Rhodes mentioned the 3 C's. As I watched the presentation, an amazing job T-led, I have to say before I go any further, again, another round of applause for our T-led group. Hearing from the voice of the students that life doesn't stop. We know life gets we often say life gets in the way, but life doesn't stop. And hearing them, when we think about these defining moments, the milestone ones that you would see on a timeline initially come to mind. The creative moments, those creation moments, as was referenced in the video, when the college was founded, when our campuses opened, when you started with the college, when you had your milestone anniversaries. But listening to the students, it's a reminder, it's those aha moments. That's what most of us, were drawn to education for, so we could have those aha moments with our students. They all shared different moments, but those were pivotal in helping them find their purpose, their sense of belonging, and their love for ACC. That's what we all share. When I think about whether you had a child during the pandemic, whether you grieved a loved one, we cannot disconnect our outside lives from what we do here. It's part of what makes us human, and the human part of us is what makes us care. So when I think about those defining moments, they're individual moments, yet they're also collective moments. And so as I stand before you today, I'm really excited. I've been looking forward to General Assembly. Everybody's told me how amazing it is. And I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you. When we think about the amazing work that we do, when we think about the impact to our students, it's collective. And we do it together. Again, it's the human part of us connecting with each other. And so when I think about when I started here at the college, so many people were so warm and engaging with me. When I was able, I always say I have the pleasure of serving as the provost here. And I love taking people on tours, showing them our amazing facilities. And they're always blown away because they're like, these spaces are world class. And yes, I'm excited to brag about them, but I'm quick to correct them. Those are not our best assets. Our best assets are our people. Our best assets are you. So I just want you to give yourself a pat on the back. So as we look back and we look forward, I think it's important, again, Dr. Rose has thanked our trustees, but we have to continue to thank our trustees for believing in us, supporting us, and allowing us, investing in us so that we can continue to advance student success. And Dr. Rhodes, we always thank you for your unwavering leadership and your vision, because you inspire us to reach for the stars and be the best community college in the galaxy, right? So as we look ahead, I think it's important, I want to start with thanking some of the special people for their unwavering commitment and dedication. Last year, as in the previous 3 years, we've been working on the Chancellor's priorities to support student success. So I'd like to start by acknowledging the colleagues who served on our previous Chancellor's priorities. So we'll start with the members of Chancellor's Priority 1.4 and 5, if you're here. If you could please stand, we want to acknowledge you for your amazing contributions. All right. If you're online, if you can wave or, okay. Thank you, thank you. You make this work possible. We'd also like to thank the members of Chancellor's Priority Work Group 3. If you're here, please stand. Thank you. And special thanks to the members of Work Group 4. If you're here, please stand. You all make this work possible. As we, again, I can't forget the voices of our students, the voices in the videos. You all make this possible. So the Chancellor referenced the 6 priorities for next year. And I'd like to just take a moment to think about the impact of these priorities. The first one is equity. And the Chancellor wanted to call out equity as a specific theme. Not that we're not always doing equity work, because we look at everything, all of our initiatives, through a lens of equity. We apply an equity lens to everything that we do. But we're keeping equity as an individual theme because we want to be able to continue to track and monitor our success and our progress. So all of the amazing work that we're doing in terms of equity falls under this theme. And our themes for the Chancellor's priorities will be aligned with the work, the amazing work that's being led by Dr. Mary Harris. And you'll hear more about that. We can't wait to get your input so that the strategic plan reflects the values of everyone at this college. The second theme is enrollment. We want to ensure we're all fiduciary agents of this institution, so we want to make sure that we're serving our community. We want to create as many opportunities to serve additional members of our community. So we will be implementing new initiatives that will help us to recruit and enroll more members of Central Texas. The third theme is learning and retention. This is at the heart of what we do, teaching and learning excellence. We have a national reputation for excellence, and we want to continue to do that. You heard from our students, directly from them. Life doesn't stop. So we want to put in, continue to augment what we're doing, keep the quality where it is. We can't sacrifice quality, but we have to continue to innovate so that we can continue to serve our students as they change. The fourth theme is institutional effectiveness and sustainability. So with that, that covers our work with our SACS reaccreditation, and it also covers our strategic planning work. The fifth theme is modernization. So this will include all of the work necessary to ensure that our technical systems reflect the expectations that students have now. We talk about March 2020 and how that impacted all of us, but we've all changed. Expectations have changed. Students expect a modern environment and able to work. So one of the big initiatives under the modernization work is our ERP upgrade for SIS. So we will start with that, the planning for that this year. And then the sixth theme is wellness. You've heard over and over again today some of the challenges that we faced. So if we think about, I mentioned individually and collectively the things that we've dealt with. Some of those defining moments are joyous, some are bittersweet. You know, when you have to celebrate a colleague that's retiring, you're happy for them, but you're bittersweet. When you had to mourn a loved one through COVID, that was definitely bittersweet. Those aha moments for the students, those are joyous and wonderful. But they all take their toll. Whether you call it initiative fatigue or burnout, everybody is different. We're all different than we were in 2019. So it's the recognition that we're all human and bringing the human element. We don't expect you to check your personal life at the door. You're an integrated whole person. What we want to do is be more intentional about showing up for each other. Dr. Rhodes mentioned the 3 C's. That has to be a part of everything that we do. There may be days when your colleague is going through a rough time and they're not able to show up as they normally would. And that's when, because we know each other, we have to look and hear the tone and say, are you okay? It might mean that you have to go the extra mile and help them, because in 3 more months, they may be helping you. That's the human part. So our focus on wellness is definitely with a focus on our students, with our child care initiatives, healthcare, wellness, our mental health support, but also making sure that we're taking care of each other as employees and colleagues. So how do you serve, or how do these themes impact you? We will be asking for, you will hear more. We will provide many opportunities, and we'll communicate those district-wide on ways that you can volunteer to serve. Again, around the 6 themes. So the only way that we make these effective and continue to advance student success is collectively with all of us. So Dr. Rhodes has been visionary with his approach, and now it's our job to bring these things to reality. We think about COVID and how it shaped us. We look back. What we know is we continue to be committed to student success. We will always be committed to student success. What we found is we have to teach differently, and we have to support our students differently. So we will continue to focus on these things. We're learning to teach in many new ways. One of those, Dr. Rhodes referenced HyFlex. It stands for Hybrid Flexible. It's an expansion of our hybrid modality that we've offered in the past. Some of our earliest adopters of the HyFlex modality here at ACC were our GIS department. And we actually have a special publication in the League for Innovation this fall that will highlight our GIS team and their HyFlex work. And the second one is strategic scheduling. So again, you heard the students say that life continues to happen. We want to make sure that our scheduling is dynamic enough to respond to the flexible needs of our students. So we will be putting in additional supports, technology to support our faculty and staff as we work on building the most robust schedule possible for our students. We continue to learn to teach in new ways. We were very proud that our bachelor's degree in advanced manufacturing was approved this year. A shout out to that group. And our IT and computer science group is working on the curriculum for a cybersecurity degree. We plan to submit that in December. So we are continuing to make strides in how we teach. QEP. We now have an official new name, Digital Fluency and Innovation, which better reflects the innovative work that's taking place with this team. The previous title was Digital Fluency for Today's Jobs, and we're going to have an entire campus conversation on October 6th. We welcome you to join that. You can go to the website, www.austincc.edu/QEP. to find more information. And don't forget to get your free t-shirts. We've got QEP t-shirts outside today. Make sure you get your free t-shirt. We continue to learn to teach in new ways with our faculty advising. We had a group of 7 professionals that have moved from student services to instruction, and they will be working with our adjunct faculty to continue to illuminate pathways for our students and remove barriers for our students. So we're very excited about that faculty advising work. Dr. Rhodes mentioned the 8-week modalities. We will continue to expand those offerings. Again, life keeps happening to our students, and we want to make sure that we have the flexible scheduling that allows them to meet their needs. Many of our students are part-time, and this allows them to accumulate more credits. We are a member of a grant with the TACC, Texas Association of Community Colleges. Our host institution is Odessa, so we have a year long to plan with the full involvement of our faculty and staff to ensure that we have the best approach for expanding our 8-week offerings. And now, I've talked about new ways that we support our students. We are planning a new welcome center in HLC, and we have a video to show you about it.
Welcome to the ACC Highland campus as we tour the design for the new Welcome Center. The Welcome Center is an innovative and inviting space that will inspire and encourage prospective students to take the next steps towards achieving their goals. A large glass wall at the entry can be completely retracted, making the space open and accessible for prospective students and visitors. Upon entering the Welcome Center, visitors are greeted with warm and bright materials, modern, comfortable furniture, and a technology-enhanced experience that aligns perfectly with ACC's mission, values, and culture. At the heart of the Welcome Center is a wood slat feature wall wrapping around multiple large screens which display a variety of opportunities to interact with and be introduced to ACC's offerings. A large touchscreen can be navigated and explored based on an individual's interests, while a second screen will inspire through powerful messaging and videos of many of ACC's departments elsewhere on campus. On our way to the orientation room, we pass by the reception desk, where staff are available to assist and greet guests. The desk is strategically located to be visible from within the Welcome Center, as well as the main building corridor. Here, an opportunity exists for a special large, branded wall directly behind the reception desk. 2 interactive multi-touch tables with industry-leading touch technology will allow for guests to interact simultaneously and learn about ACC programs for credit and non-credit offerings. The orientation room is designed to be highly flexible and is equipped with the latest technology. It can accommodate as many as 40 guests and includes 2 teaching cameras to allow a virtually unlimited number of online visitors, illustrating ACC's awesome commitment to providing access to anyone with an interest. The room can be arranged with tables and chairs to face the front, or it can be easily rearranged for small breakout group discussions. 4 interactive Newline screens on the side walls can be controlled individually, or they can mirror the main screen at the front of the room. A kiosk nook provides a comfortable and semi-private space for prospective students to fill out required forms for enrollment or meet virtually with student affairs staff. The selfie display is a chance for prospective students to inspire others. Here, guests can take a selfie and post it complete with ACC branding. Visiting ACC and taking control of your future is an idea worth sharing. The Student Care Center, also known as the SCC at ACC, is the next stop on our tour. From the main corridor, we catch a glimpse of the warm and modern Grab and Go. A fresh mixture of ACC purple and wood slats make the area inviting and proudly on display. Students looking for a little additional support are encouraged to grab some fruit, snacks, sandwiches, or drinks. The food store and its flexible shelving provide a variety of grocery staples. In addition to dry goods, 2 large refrigerators offer fresh and frozen foods. The walls and ceilings are brightly painted, and vinyl flooring will help with acoustics and durability. The main open space in the SCC takes advantage of the existing exterior window to ensure the space is bright, warm, and welcoming. It features a conference room, staff workstations, and 2 touchdown kiosks for students. Another warm and welcoming space, Student Life, will provide students a place to visit with friends, study, do yoga, play games, and most importantly, relax. The main space is a tall open room with comfortable flexible furniture, game tables, and a large multifunctional flat screen. Adjacent to the main space is a gaming space with a built-in social stair that is modern, flexible, and inviting. Multiple high-top counters, tables, and a break area provide places to sit, eat, study, or read. A set of sliding room dividers can be stored within the adjacent wall to leave the open space, or they can be slid out to divide the space based on students' needs. On our way to Student Affairs, we pass by the new information desk. The desk is designed with 2 service windows, so students can be helped from the main corridor or from within the Student Affairs waiting area. New banquettes along the west wall offer a comfortable and semi-private place to wait for your advisor. And 2 additional flat screens in the space will keep students encouraged and informed with ACC messaging.
So we're very excited about that new space, and I said, again, we continue to learn new ways to support our students. Two of the new key ways are our work with an enrollment management consultant. With this group, we will be looking at a market and environmental scan, doing a competitor analysis, marketing deep dives and communication, and a marketing audit, as well as recruitment and admissions processing analyses, and technology integration support, as well as process re-engineering. The group will also work with us to design a KPI, Key Performance Indicator dashboard. So we're looking forward to working with them to strengthen how we support our enrollment funnel. Another key area in which we support our students is the College Student Inventory Needs Assessment, CSI. So with this work, we understand ACC is a complex ecosystem. And so we have a work group led by Dr. Wade Bradfute and Dr. Nancy Stano, and they recommended exploring a proactive intervention that could impact student withdrawals, which is the CSI. So this fall, we will be administering the pilot of the CSI inventory to 4,000 students. And within this, there are 3 categories included in the assessment: academic motivation, general coping skills, and receptivity to support services. In addition, a committee has developed 16 additional questions to add to this assessment that identifies our child care support, the hours of work, food insecurity, homelessness, mental health needs, addiction recovery, health insurance, veteran status, and sexual orientation. So our CSI will provide us with valuable early information to support our students. So we have one more video. We are going to highlight the Make It Center. So many of you may be familiar, but we are really excited about the launch of our Make It Center. This will give students, whether we have K-12 partners wanting to come in, students trying to figure out what career they want, this is a test drive opportunity for students to learn about new careers in a very engaging and fun way. So now let's look at the video for the Make It Center.
Imagine a place where individuals of all ages and their families can come for the ultimate hands-on career exploration experience, exposing them to career options they may have never considered before. The Make It Center at Austin Community College will inform, inspire, and engage students and members of the community through collaborative partnerships to discover a variety of meaningful career pathways that connect interests, strengths, and passions to the well-paying job opportunities in Central Texas. The Make It Center will be located in Building 2000 at the ACC Highland campus, a state-of-the-art learning and training complex. Visitors will enter the space through a wood-clad portal and will be greeted by Make It Center staff. The look and feel retains the industrial nature of the space with exposed ceilings, structure, and polished concrete floors. Wood elements provide warmth, while glass and perforated metal walls define interior spaces while still maintaining a feeling of openness and visual connection. Carpet tile, fabric-wrapped ceiling panels, and soft furnishings provide the necessary acoustic treatment as well as color and texture. The first room on our walkthrough, the Fab Lab, is a space for hands-on learning, problem-solving, and creative experimentation. The Fab Lab will fuel engagement, creativity, and curiosity, and at the same time, students will learn and develop new skills with connections to specific jobs and careers. The Innovation Hub inspires creative and critical thought and strategic planning in ways that promote collaboration and innovation. This technology-enhanced space will provide an environment that encourages leaders across industries to gather and imagine what the future of Central Texas will look like. A large wall of interactive touchscreen displays will allow users to share dreams and ideas in a unique and engaging way. The showroom is the centerpiece of the Make It Center. It promotes and highlights in-demand industries and career paths through interactive digital and analog displays that are intended to be flexible and changed out frequently. The VR Simulation Zone facilitates an immersive environment allowing for guests to experience a wide range of careers. The VR Sim Zone will allow users to explore their interests and connect them to career opportunities through both 3D and 4D technologies. The Discovery Zone captures attention and sparks excitement through technology such as holograms and interactive software. Guests will be invited to engage with interactive displays to imagine the life they want, explore a lifestyle calculator, and discover the careers that can get them there. Passing by the showroom again, exhibits and displays will spark curiosity, inspire interaction, invite exploration, and leave lasting impressions. The ACC Showcase increases visibility and awareness of the multitude of programs of study and career paths available through ACC and invites students, prospective students, and guests to explore and connect to programs and careers that fuel their passion and purpose. A Founders Wall will provide a space to acknowledge those whose generous support allowed for the Make It Center to become a reality. Make It Services provides a shared space for the Make It Center's external collaborative partners to showcase and connect individuals to resources, programs, and services that support them in reaching their personal and professional aspirations. The last leg of our walkthrough has us once again passing by the showroom, and this time into the Inspiration Hub. The Inspiration Hub provides a dynamic space for robust, year-round, interactive, and engaging programs and events. This versatile and flexible space lends itself to a variety of equity-minded programs and interactive instruction that educate, empower, and excite participants about possibilities for a future of a purpose-driven life and meaningful work. Furniture in the Inspiration Hub is intended to be movable and convertible to allow for the room to be transformed into a variety of configurations. Large operable glass walls will allow for the space to open up and spill out onto the larger ACC Highland Main Street to provide a truly inviting physical connection to the rest of the building. Thank you for joining us on this brief tour, and welcome to the ACC Highland Make It Center.
Well, I hope you're as excited as I am about everything that we have in the future as we co-create together. I appreciate your attention this morning, and at this time, I invite you to take a short break before our keynote presentation.
Ready to begin the next part of our program, and I have the honor of introducing our keynote today. As a futurist and humanist, Gerd Leonhard tells the story of people, planet, prosperity, and purpose. He's one of the leading futurists worldwide, having presented at over 1,600 leading conferences and events over the past 20 years, and worked with the likes of Microsoft, NBC, Visa, Google, the European Commission, L'Oreal, Audi, and IBM, just to name a few. Gerd has had the opportunity to influence and inspire millions to imagine and create a better tomorrow. We first engaged Gerd a few years ago and tried to host him here, but with those challenges at the time, we weren't able to do so. The global pandemic opened up new opportunities, hybrid opportunities for us to have him with us here today. Our keynote will have two parts. The first will be a pre-recorded, customized program for us. And the second part will be a live Q&A with our provost, Dr. Monique Humphrey, and Gerd joining live from his home base in Zurich, Switzerland. We are grateful to host him here today.
Greetings and hello everybody. I'm Gerd Leonhard, futurist in Zurich, Switzerland. It's my great pleasure to provide a keynote for you guys today for the ACC, the Austin Community College General Assembly of this year, to speak about the future of education and what it could mean for you and where things are going. I'm a futurist. I've been doing this roughly for 20 years, and one of my key topics is education. I'm very excited about it. I'm very enthusiastic and very passionate about education. So it's really my great pleasure to share this with you today. And after my keynote of 2 hours, no, just kidding, 40 minutes, we're going to have a conversation later with question and answers, which I really look forward to. So thanks for tuning in. So when we talk about the future of education, I think it's quite clear that the next 10 years are going to bring fundamental change to everything. In many ways, you could say that the world is kind of upside down, not just COVID, but also, of course, the war, Russia, Ukraine, the inflation that we see around the world, climate change concerns, automation, artificial intelligence, you name it. Right? So we're heading into a future of what I like to call sometimes perma-change, which basically means that change is everywhere. And I think that's always been true, but now it's especially true because now technology is really changing our world at a very, very fast pace. For example, artificial intelligence, cloud computing, battery-driven cars, electric vehicles. I know your town, of course, is predestined for this, given the home of Elon Musk, Tesla. I've been to Austin, by the way, many times before. It's always been a great pleasure, and I do hope to come back eventually. But anyway, go back to the perma-change. So what we have now is a world it's like a giant one of those snowflake things that you buy in Venice. You know, you shake it up and everything goes upside down. And that's true for tourism, it's true for travel, it's true for technology, very true for education. And education is an industry and a sector that has been kind of, improving slowly, but it's been kind of a little bit off the grid for the dramatic changes that we've seen in media and, of course, technology, computing, but also, of course, transportation and other things. But the perma-change is coming. And here's one of the key points there. I think that in this kind of perma-change world, that education as usual won't cut it. Because education as usual is mostly about downloading information for later. And storing it, learning something and then deploying it, and that's basically what we do. That's how I went to school. That's my kids, who are 27 and 33, kind of went to this traditional way of schooling. I think it's going to be entirely different, the way that we look at education, to be able to answer those VUCA questions, right? You know what VUCA, of course, volatility, uncertainty, complexity and ambiguity, we have to answer by saying, well, we have to flip the VUCA, right? Velocity, unorthodoxy, co-creation, and awesomeness. I love that good old American word, doesn't really exist anywhere else in that same way. But awesomeness, how do we create awesome people, awesome students? How do we co-create? How do we do unorthodox things? How do we invent our future? I mean, clearly, most jobs in the next 10 years don't exist today. I mean, there's been a lot of research saying, some people like Dell Technologies has said, roughly 70% of all new jobs in 2030 don't even exist today. So yeah, it's VUCA world. We have to flip it: velocity, unorthodoxy, co-creation, awesomeness. Looking at this chart, basically in the last 10 years, our changes have been so big that it's like a long list of things that have gotten worse, some things that have gotten better, but since the COVID crisis, vast acceleration of everything, of technology, of changes, of challenges. And I think it's safe to say the next 10 years will bring more change than the previous 100 years. I know that sounds like an overstatement, considering World War II and the internet and television and of course the atomic bomb, right? But yes, the next 10 years, we're going to have quantum computing, abundant energy with nuclear fusion. That's probably 10, 15 years away. Genetic engineering of humans. It's mind-boggling, the possibilities. Most of it could be just amazing for us if we have the right wisdom to run them, right? And to actually figure it out. So right now we're kind of in this position. We're like these birds. I love that picture, sitting on a rubber court and just making a temporary home there. And I think for many students and also for faculty and staff in general, it comes down to learning a bunch of new things, resilience, agility, creativity, and imagination. Einstein said imagination is more important than knowledge. And how do we learn that at college, right? And how do we learn these things, hope and optimism, and how do we develop foresight and intuition? And lastly, of course, how do we further our human-only skills? How do we compete with machines? There's many things that machines will almost never be able to do. Like intuition, imagination, foresight, that's very difficult for a machine. Humans do that all the time. And how do we actually develop our intuition? Do we go to school for this? That's not really a skill. That's more like a personality trait, right? And we need to further that with all students, with ourselves, with our kids, of course, right? And because of COVID, and now everything that's happening around COVID, resilience, right? Agility, reinvention. That's what it comes down to. I think very few businesses will be the same or have been the same since COVID and now post-COVID. And everything is basically going to fast track to being completely turned upside down by a bunch of revolutions, which I want to talk to you about. And the bottom line of all of that is that business as usual is dead or dying. That's not necessarily bad news. I mean, it can be bad news if your business is threatened by death, of course, like, for example, the cruise ship business, right? Or like Nokia was years ago, right? But business as usual is changes. It's a vast opportunity. It will require, of course, education to change as a consequence. Here's a couple of data points on this, right? So the top 10 list of risks and changes, World Economic Forum. I mean, it's mind-boggling to see climate action, extreme weather. All the green stuff is, of course, climate change issues. The red stuff is societal. So cohesion, erosion, livelihood crisis, loss of trust. And we're seeing, of course, here the way this curve is shaking up. Basically, natural capital is declining. We're destroying our environment, but we're making more money in average, right? That's a really tough realization that natural capital is declining like this. The frequency of extreme weather events, of course, in California, also I think in Texas now, extremely hot, same in Europe. That's basically heading towards a pivot point of climate change of 2% warming. That's already tough. Look at these numbers. I'm going to share them with you later as a PDF. But yeah, vast challenges how we can overcome this and fix it eventually and not get to 4 degrees, right? And how we eat, for example, is under fire, right? Basically, eating meat, livestock production, and so on is 18% of all CO2 in agriculture and food. That needs to change, and now we're going to have things like meat from the lab, right? You heard about this cultured meat substitutes. The future may very well be vegan, even though I'm not vegan or vegetarian, but that could be a trend that we're going to see. How we eat and how we change, that has impact on everything. Good news, of course, in the US is the latest bill, the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, that finally passed after a lot of back and forth, $500 billion towards the green economy. I think that is just a phenomenal piece of progress, and I'm very happy to see that. That's going to create a lot of new jobs, especially in your area. That's going to create a lot of opportunities and also some positive thinking. Other things that are kind of a challenge for us is the fact that machines will do a lot of the routine work. It's kind of hard to define what routine work is, like driving a car is not really routine work. It appears to be, but it's not really. But a lot of routine work, financial advice, filling out spreadsheets, scheduling stuff, machines will do that just like they do manufacturing in the plants now, in the car plants. And if you're looking at the car industry, for example, one of the big changes that we're seeing here is that we're going from selling cars and combustion engines, so-called ICEs, the black box here, to selling software. And of course, this is, again, I think nothing new for Austin because of Texas, but cars are becoming software. Think about all the changes in our business as usual isn't going to be a new word here. I mean, and of course, basically what we're seeing here in the future of work is that much of the work is moving online. We're going to work in the cloud. We're going to work hybrid. Humans want to get together, obviously, right? But we have to get used to this, right? Freelance jobs are going to explode. Cloud-based jobs, international jobs, flexible situations are going to be absolutely everywhere. And then finally, this is an interesting chart here, virtuality. Right? People are going to work in the metaverse and putting on virtual reality glasses and creating entirely new environments for working. Very powerful stuff. I personally think that's a little bit far-fetched, the current hype about this whole scenario, because people are people, people want to get together, people want to stay social, people are not robots, machines. We have to keep that in mind when we talk about all that stuff. But basically, exponential change is coming up. With exponential, I mean leaping, right? We're in the leap age. I'm sure you've noticed. Yeah. So it's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's 4, 8, 16, 32. Moore's law, Metcalfe's law, many of you probably know these laws, but you know, if we're at 4 now, next year it'll be 18, and basically in 10 years, 256, 10 more years, 1 million times as different as today. So I think it's safe to say when business as usual changes, then work as usual changes. We're going to work differently. I think finally, maybe in 5 to 7 years, we're going to work less because technology affords it, provided, of course, we're making the same money. That would be kind of a implied consequence we would like to have. But on the other hand, of course, we can safely say that education as usual is dead or dying. I'm going to put it more positively, okay? Education as usual must be rebooted, reinvented to fit this new paradigm. This is your chance in community college, because a lot of that stuff is going to happen on that level. First, and we need to get people ready for this, and it's a vast opportunity, I think, for all community colleges and for education in general, is to think about the exponential change of jobs. What skills do we need in this future? This is a future of pivoting, a constant turning around, and this has just been egged on by COVID, but it's not really the result of COVID. It was just an acceleration. And now we're facing the climate change issues, all those things I talked about earlier. But basically the impact of the pandemic and then the climate change mitigation, adaptation that we're going through now, it's climate emergency, everybody knows that, and there's going to be dramatic action and dramatic changes. You know, like, for example, we'll have mandatory carbon taxes on flying on the airplane. Carbon taxes for eating meat even, I can imagine. Probably not in America, but maybe here in Europe, right? Yeah, I live in Zurich, obviously that may be a topic here. A new economic logic, an inclusive capitalism. And that's of course the story of US government now as well. It's a bit of wishful thinking at this point, but yeah, it's happening, right? The Business Roundtable, the First Mover Coalition, to create capitalism that is more inclusive, right? And creates a more equal society, more collective benefit. And that also goes to the whole discussion about equality, inclusion, and diversity. Those are big topics. If you know millennials, of course, well, if you have kids of that age, say 22, or young people, I would say, 22 to 35, clearly, yeah, they're going to look in this direction. They want a society that's more equal. Male, female, race, sex, gender, belief, everything, right? And that is clearly a change that we're seeing. It's kind of a pivoting moment as we're going to a world of paradigm shifts. And that you have to understand. If you think about the future of the college, the future of education, the paradigm shifts are absolutely humongous, okay? Starting with what we, of course, know well, the agricultural revolution some time ago, the industrial revolution. And now, of course, it's the digital revolution, right? It's the revolution that creates everything in data, IoT, the Internet of Things, and so on. Teaming up with the sustainability revolution, green is the new digital, right? And of course, the next point is that we have a human revolution, right? I call it the human renaissance. And the human renaissance means that despite of all the technology, we're still human, right? We still want to meet. We still want to look for purpose. We want our rights to be protected. We don't want to become machines, at least most people don't. Maybe out in California, there are a few upload their brain to the internet so they can think faster. But I think here is going to be a very, very powerful juncture. And of course, the human genome is being investigated as a possibility of preventing diseases like cancer and diabetes. But the human renaissance means that we're going to put more emphasis on being human. And that's a kind of a global trend that we're seeing. It's very strongly in Europe, but I can feel it also in the US. And if we go in this direction, we can see those two things, the big blue technology and big green, the sustainability revolution, will be kind of joined by this human renaissance revolution, right, which will be about having a larger purpose. You know, Bobby Kennedy already said in the 60s, 1968, that GDP measures everything except that which makes our lives worthwhile. And now we're finally realizing, yeah, okay, we may be accumulating more money on the top 10%, but basically the world is going to pieces, becoming dysfunctional, a system collapse. And so now we're looking at this new way of saying, okay, we really need a different paradigm. I call that people, planet, purpose, and prosperity. And you've heard about people, planet, profit. I want to just add the purpose to that. And now we have lots of initiatives from Unilever to Patagonia to many other companies, even oil companies, who are promising a move in that direction. I think it's early days still, but this renaissance can be felt. And this is also where your college needs to engage and present more opportunities in the humanities, which will be eventually the monetizing factor, right? The dominant factor in our work will be whatever machines can't do. So it's important to realize that technology alone isn't enough, and neither is science. This is just the tools that we're getting. I mean, science and technology, engineering, math, that's going to be very powerful still every time. Of course, if you know how to program, it's always good, except for very soon, and already now, computers know how to program. So this is a question, of course, how great talented you are in there. But basically, I want to talk about technology a little bit, and here is Kevin Kelly, who is one of the leading futurists in America and the co-founder of Wired, who says we should be optimistic, and he calls it protopia, not utopia, right? Protopia. Not because our problems are smaller, which is important to realize, we have lots of problems, right? But our capacity to solve them is larger than we thought. And that is because we have so much more clever science and technology where we can fix things that we have caused. And I think this is happening on a very broad scale, creating lots of new possibilities and jobs. I'm going to give you some charts on this, right? First, for example, we have the biggest technological transformation in human history by all the things that have been invented in the last 20 years. Robotics, energy storage, again, Tesla, right? Artificial intelligence, $5 trillion innovation platforms, genetic engineering, energy storage, robotics, and so on. Very, very powerful driver of society. Everything becoming cheaper that has technology, apart from the iPhone, of course, which is not getting cheaper, right? But you can clearly see that technology is getting cheaper, cost reduction for DNA analysis, for pretty much anything. And this curve is the most hopeful. Climate technology innovation is just going crazy right now already, and especially in the next 10 years. We're going to have all these things that were kind of rocket science before: battery storage, fintech, fuel cells, and clean building materials, and new kind of concrete, and so on and so on. I mean, we're moving into a world where that is going to become the new normal, right? But here's the thing. Despite all these things, we still have to do the right thing with all the technology that we have. Buckminster Fuller, famous designer and futurist, said humanity is inventing all the right technologies, but uses it for the wrong reasons. I mean, there are a lot of negative side effects of technology, and they're getting bigger. Like social media is disrupting democracy, manipulating us. I left Facebook as a user 5 years ago, and it's been a good thing, actually, right? So technology and science alone will not save us. I think we have to look in another direction. Also, of course, neither will capitalism as we know it, the Milton Friedman, a free market, right? This kind of idea that the market will fix all of that. Well, no, the market will not fix inequality. It will not fix climate change. It will not fix artificial general intelligence, because it makes a lot of money. I mean, look at social media. We haven't really fixed anything there. It's quite detrimental in many ways. But we have to understand this, that we can't just leave this open out there. We have to take action to essentially devise a new market. And I talked about this earlier, the kind of paradigm of people, planet, purpose, and prosperity is basically everywhere now. And that's our ticket to the future. I think every politician is realizing this now. It can't just be profit, right, and growth. And we have to educate our students to think in that direction, a different paradigm. We're going to see stock markets based on this, right? Renewable long-term stock markets, already the first one in San Francisco, the long-term stock exchange.
One of the ways we can do this.
Go back to this for a second, right? This is Jacinda Ardern, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, and she's amazing, right? And she talks about why we have to go into this new direction of looking at purpose, right, and defining it. So I'm going to play a video again. It's quite entertaining.
One of the ways we can do this is simply by widening our idea of what prosperity means. Because if a country has been growing economically for 30 years, yet large numbers of its citizens haven't felt the benefit, is it really moving forward? If a country has a relatively high rate of
Watch the
GDP
rest on
growth,
YouTube, but Jacinda says basically what's happening here, and I think this is a trend that we're seeing around the world, is we have to bring prosperity in the context of purpose and planet and people. And I think a lot of women around the world are gearing up to take charge of this. The German government just hired the CEO of Greenpeace as climate change envoy. Look what happened in Colombia, you know, where I think a cleaning lady became a vice president just recently. Right? I mean, all the world we're seeing around this fundamental change, also in the US, more women, more minorities. It's going to take a little bit longer, I think, in America for that to play out, but I have high hopes. These things are changing, and that also means that education is changing as a result, because people in charge of education are changing. And you're going to see dramatic changes, I think very, very positive ones, as we've seen, for example, in Finland, with the kind of education that's much more focused on reality, right? On working together, on inventing your subjects. So let's talk about what machines are doing in the future and what humans will be doing. HI, human intelligence, and AI, artificial intelligence. So the bottom line is, I think we can safely say that anything that can be digitized or automated, virtualized, will be. That doesn't make humans useless. I mean, if things are digitized like digital music, right, or news, right, it doesn't make us useless, except for that journalism, of course, provides a really tough challenge right now and needs more funding. But humans aren't useless because of that, because these machines are just machine intelligent. Right? They have intellectual kind of knowledge, right, binary knowledge, but we have multinary knowledge. We have 10 different kinds of intelligence: social, kinesthetic, musical, intellectual, emotional intelligence. Some people have, especially women are said to have a lot more than men. But I think really what's happening here is that anything that cannot be digitized or automated becomes a lot more valuable. And that is basically everything that is really important to us, right? Very hard to do with a machine, right? Emotions, creativity, imagination, ethics, empathy, consciousness, human agency, values, ethics, mystery. Right? And that's important that we teach this. How do you teach that? Well, that's not a topic like, how to program a computer. It's more like a personality trait, right? Something that we have to teach in between. Very, very powerful shift here away from the thinking that technology is the ticket to the future. It's just one of the tickets. Yeah, science and technology, engineering, math, going to be important, but that's not the only ticket, because as science and technology are getting smarter, we need to bolster our human-only values. As you can see in this chart here, how AI will change the job market. Down here, of course, the obvious place, manufacturing, transportation, storage, the jobs are declining. Financial insurance also increasing in all the soft jobs, right? Health, scientific, technical, basically communication, hospitality. And if you look in that direction, I think it's good news. Jobs are growing in those sectors, and the other ones are going away. So maybe we have less people in manufacturing. Same happened in agriculture. It used to be 90% of people work in agriculture. Now it's 2%. Right? We're not all unemployed. We're moved to different places. So I think we have to be fair and say, okay, if your job is total routine, like checkout in the supermarket, it is under fire. But you'd be surprised how many jobs aren't total routine. And the other thing is, of course, we have to protect people from this. Right? So if your job is under fire and you may be outmoded by a smart, intelligent machine, then we have to find a way to train people. We have to find a way to put public money into programs, for example, volunteer programs that used to be free, like climate change activity, like having children, like building things, taking care of your grandparents, and so on and so on. Yeah, we have to fund those. And I think there's a lot of boost, if we're looking at the future, in social jobs, in environmental jobs, right? In healthcare jobs. They just have to be funded, and other ones will be defunded, of course, as a result. So here we're going to see a lot of robots, machines, whether it's software or hardware, doing the heavy lifting, as some people say, dirty, dull, and dangerous. That's kind of the future of robotic work, and that's work that we can safely outsource, right? And so there's a new pyramid unfolding that is basically our work order for the next 10, 15, maybe 20 years, to where the lower part of this pyramid, intellectual knowledge and logic and data information, that's kind of machine turf, right? I mean, that's a place that machines can trump us, because a machine can memorize Wikipedia in 1 minute and read all the philosophy books in the next minute, right? But we can't do that. Our job is to move up the pyramid, deeper knowledge, tacit knowledge, quiet knowledge, implicit knowledge, not explicit, understanding, wisdom, purpose, right? Human agency, right? Consciousness, spirituality, all these things that make us, they're on the top of that pyramid. Impossible jobs for machines. And I wouldn't want the machine to be conscious. Yeah? I want the machine to be competent, so it can drive me, fly my airplane, do my taxes. Right? I don't want it to tell it what the purpose of life is. Right? So up here, that's where education is going. Right? Human-only turf. We're going to stop looking at things like downloading information so we have it ready later. It's going to be much more about the human-only things: tacit knowledge, understanding, wisdom, collaboration, imagination, foresight. Right? And that's already quite apparent, you know, looking at what technology business, for example, leaders of technology companies are, to a large degree, creative people. They even come from Waldorf School and from art school in the UK, quite a high number there. Right? So basically, what we're looking at is this, right? As artificial intelligence is going to be mushrooming, and again, thanks to a large degree to what Elon is doing with his various companies. Artificial intelligence, defined by Demis Hassabis from DeepMind, is computer systems that turn information and data into knowledge. Think about this for a second. I mean, if you're in a college, you're running a college, you're working in a college, yeah, you're providing knowledge. Right? And now all of a sudden computers have knowledge. Isn't that our turf? But what kind of knowledge do computers have? Right? I mean, this one has knowledge of, appears to have sort of human shape kind of knowledge, but here's another track I think that you will appreciate a lot when it's about AI and machine learning. This is an app called DALL-E, D-A-L-L-E, that invents images that didn't exist before by just using typed commands. And now the cover of Cosmopolitan magazine last month was done by DALL-E, by an AI, provided by OpenAI, that's the project, where it just made a cover in 10 seconds. So of course, didn't get paid. I guess that's a benefit. But okay, so that is interesting, but is it truly creative? Does it have imagination? I think it's still binary. It's interesting, right? But think about this for a second. If computers have knowledge, right, we have to take a good look and say, yeah, my view is, as many Zen masters have said, knowledge without wisdom is useless. And others have said wisdom without spirituality is useless. So I'm not going to go in that direction. We'll take too long here. But basically, you know, we need understanding and knowledge to use, and wisdom to use the knowledge, not just deploy any binary knowledge. You know, yes or no. That's what machines do, and this is how we're going to still prevail over the machine. So let me talk briefly about education that's fit for the future based on what we have discussed until now. So we need an education revolution, right? We have the digital revolution, which is impacting education, of course. We have the green revolution, the decarbonization revolution, which is blowing away everything that we've ever known, shifting from the fossil fuel economy to a green economy. We had the human revolution with CRISPR-Cas9, human engineering, and so on. But Buckminster Fuller again, right, he said very rightly about, I don't know, what was it, 1981, all children are born geniuses, but 9,999 out of 10,000 are swiftly and inadvertently de-geniused by grown-ups. He in fact said de-geniused by schools. And I think that's still very much true. How do we bring the genius back? I mean, all of you are trying that every single day, I'm sure. How do we build a system that brings the genius back? Because it's going to take genius in various ways to invent your work. I mean, if half the jobs of the future are yet to be invented, and if they're not going to be in a building but online, well, we're going to have to be a genius to invent those things. And I think we need to say goodbye to this concept of efficiency, you know, teaching kids and teaching people to be more efficient and optimized and just function. Right? Functioning is kind of like, that's what computers do. Right? We have to go from this focus away to a new focus, not from KPIs, right, performing index, to KHI, key human index. Human agency, consciousness, imagination, intuition, like I said before. How do we teach it? Should be part of every curriculum. That's why we need to have classes that are based on topics, projects, not on, English, history. I think that's still quite useful in many ways, but let's have larger projects where we can use unorthodoxy, entrepreneurship. As I'm sure you're very well aware of, this is the ticket, especially in America, right? Courage, creativity, entrepreneurship, where you can build your own future in different ways. And imagination is crucial, imagining something that's completely new and that doesn't exist. I mean, this is what we all do to start new industries and new businesses. I mean, imagine if we hadn't invented the mobile device and apps, where would we be today? So C.K. Prahalad, a famous Indian poet, says, imagine the future may be more important than analyzing the past. Companies today are no longer resource bound, they are imagination bound. And I think that really goes for colleges too. Resources are still important, knowledge is important to some degree, right? But imagination, creativity, personality skills, the mindset, future mindset, and holistic thinking. This is something that humans easily do. See the context. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've used Google Maps and Google did not see the context of what I wanted and where I wanted to go. It just saw the straight calculation. It was utterly wrong, right? It's a great tool for those things, but holistic thinking is not the power territory of computers. That's what we do, right? We think holistically of larger things. One thing is for certain, if you work like a robot will take your job. And to be more provocative even, if you learn like a robot, you'll end up working for them. And I think many people still around the world in many, many colleges and universities and of course high schools as well, they learn like a robot, right? They're just digesting stuff and tick on the box. We'll have to stop this and move towards working in a different way, where we do the things that robots don't do, the flexible thing, the human-only skills, the traits. Right? And clearly, it's going to be a hybrid world. We're going to use technology of any kind, but I really believe that personal learning and face-to-face activity is really what makes it happen. So I think we're going to do all these things, and I'm very excited about that. And this is where, of course, I'm appearing virtually. I hope that works for you. But generally speaking, we're going to move towards a different kind of learning, right? A project-based learning, a learning where we're going to say, well, let's look at what is the problem and identify what we need to know, and then learn and apply to save the problem with all those neighboring territories, practice and context, technology, theory, right? In an entirely new way that we've never done before. And that has been the practice in many schools, as I said, in Finland, for example, the UK art schools, here in Switzerland at some schools. We have to learn how to think differently about what we do. But otherwise, we end up just kind of digesting information and becoming a robot ourselves. Right? So, as I said earlier, the jobs that haven't been invented yet, here's a great example. I used to be in the music business. That's how I got to Austin for South by Southwest many times. And now we have all these new jobs in the music business. They're not record labels, they're not publishers, They're not traditional A&R people, right? They're data jockeys and royalty miners, Those are all new jobs. And I mean, just look at social media, as bad as some of it is, 21 million new jobs in 12 years. Right? So I would say several 10 million jobs in climate change and new energy, tens of millions in social and healthcare, because we're going to need a lot of that going forward. Right? The question is, how do we fund it? How do we raise the money? And how we distribute the money? That is the main problem, because we do have the money. Right? So great education is really about all of those things. Imagine the Vitruvian man, I call this the Neoluvian man, the man that's surrounded, and the woman, of course, a woman as well, surrounded by technology. Right? And now we have to say, well, that's great that we have all this AI and all the things. And let me play this again so you get a good feel of it. And again, I do have a woman symbol for this. I'm going to put it next time. So as this turns around as AI, IoT, we also need to think about nature. And coming back to Heki, right? What makes us work in the future? Here's another example using the same story as humans and machines are kind of converging in power, right? STEM and Heki, science, technology, engineering, math, that will be a staple going forward. We should not deny or diminish that. I'm a very strong proponent of that. But on the other hand, I think we're sometimes making a shortcut a little bit on these things, humanity, ethics, creativity, imagination, because that is really the ticket to our future. That's what we can do as humans. That machines don't do that. And we shouldn't let them do it. We shouldn't even try to get anywhere close to having humans having agency of that sort. Right? And I think this is the ticket. Every single profession, whether it's vocational or otherwise professional or academic, needs to have those two things filled, right? Science and technology, and then the human skills, the arts. As Steve Jobs says, art and science, right? Combining the two together. I mean, that is, of course, the ticket for so many new jobs and possibilities of the future. So combining the EQ, the emotional quotient, and the IQ. And I think that's really a task for everybody. That is a ticket if you have kids, what they have to learn. Thinking again holistically about our future. I mean, for some people it will be either or because that's what their skills are. But generally speaking, it's a combination of the two. Very, very important to understand where that's going. So education, that's fit for the future. Right? That is the symbol I use for the future mindset, the ears from World War I, listening to the enemy planes coming in. And those things are really important to understand in terms of where they go and how do we approach this, to perceive and to observe and to understand and to feel, to imagine and deliberate, and then to act. Right? We all have to learn that. And I think the future mindset is what sets us apart. And it's the good thing, of course, in America, the future mindset is kind of the new normal. In Europe, it's still like the present mindset. That needs to change a lot. But we need to invent education that's fit for the era of exponential change. Right? And that includes the listening process, the future readiness, to actually understand where things are going and also to develop a good feeling about what's going to be good and what's not. Right? So great education will enable us to see, hear, and create the future. Because guess what? The future is no longer a time frame. The future is a mindset. The future isn't about tomorrow, it's here. Right? You just haven't noticed. We haven't paid enough attention. I mean, if you pay attention to the future using the ears, you'll see it popping up everywhere. Every week there's a major breakthroughs in nanotechnology and new ways to build construction. It's mind-boggling, exciting, but also, of course, overwhelming at times. So great education needs to enable the students to see, hear, and then to create the future and to be ready for what's happening increasingly faster than we would ever thought. We thought the future is always about tomorrow, kind of a science fiction thing, but it's not. The future is here, and we make the future. And our students and our participants and our faculty and our staff, we make the future every day by making those decisions. So, whether online or offline, Education 2030, here's a couple bullets. Right? We're going to see a seamless blend of STEM and HECI, of science, technology, but also humanities, in all studies and levels. To be an awesome human is the ultimate ticket to the future. Now, to be an awesome scientist is a good thing, but not everybody can be Einstein. Right? So we need to figure out how we combine the two. That is so crucial that we combine the curriculum to develop a holistic approach to the future. A flexible delivery, right? The idea of hybrid, virtual, right, with a human emphasis, that is going to be important. I think there's no substitution for face-to-face experiences because even the best remote experience is still remote. It doesn't have the feel, the audio. It may have in 10 years, but I'm not so sure I would want that because it's kind of addictive in so many ways. Right? So technology-assisted educational programs, AI, virtual reality, mixed reality, holograms, that's coming. It's a little bit early for this because we still need to kind of recover from the COVID thing, which wasn't so great on technology for many people. Lifelong learning to basically support the constant workforce changes. And there's going to be so many possibilities that need to be supported sort of on the fly. So 6 months later, we have a new program, a new vocational micro certificate. Personalized offerings and deeply customized programs so that people are able to pick and choose what they want. I think we're going to go away from a lot of traditional degrees and MBAs to like a project-based and also accreditation-based kind of concept where we have micro certificates and things that we do just to be ready for the next wave of jobs, like micro credentials and many new sort of shapes of degrees, parentheses, and certifications. And most importantly, I think I really like the project problem experience-based learning because, basically the future is all about experiences. And this is going to be crucial. I think even if we start remotely, the experience of getting together then in real life, in IRL, so to speak, right? That's going to be amazing. Last one, very important, I think, let's not lose faith on this. I think there will be more funding for education across the board, especially in the US, as the workforce changes. Because that is the ticket. If we don't have good education to get the workforce ready and to get leaders ready also, then it's going to look bad. Right? And it's quite obvious, a lot of people, that we have to really change this and we have to bring down the costs. And of course, here in Europe, we have a whole different story on this, right? It's mostly public still. And I think we may still see that in the US as a development as well. So I want to share a video by Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada. This is a graduation video where he talks about what people have to do and how they have to look at the future.
I know the future can seem especially daunting. But believe me when I say you have everything you need, not only to achieve, succeed, and build, but to be happy. No one gets to choose the world into which they graduate. But you do get to choose the world that will be your legacy.
So it's interesting, he says, we can't help where we came from, but we can shape the future. We are descendants of the past, all of us, but we're also parents of the future. What kind of future do you want for your kids? What kind of future do you want for your students? I mean, that is the key question. And how do we get people to build that future? And how do we build the next step for them to learn this? So last year in the COVID times, I made a film called The Good Future. And you can find it at thegoodfuturefilm.com, because I wanted to show how we can have a future that's better than we think. That's my general opinion, is that we can find a really good future if we make up our mind correctly and if we pay attention. So the good future is entirely possible, and education is the key. That's how we're going to create a good future, by having the right education, the right training, the right tools to go into the future. Going back to what I said in the beginning, let's not get stuck on the VUCA, the volatility, uncertainty too much. That's a negative story. Let's flip that around and talk about velocity, speed, unorthodoxy, co-creation. And let's teach that to our students to have this kind of approach. So there's a great saying by Barbara Hubbard, a futurist. I want to end with that. As we see the future, so we act. As we act, so we become. Let's hope we can teach our students and participants and ourselves and to look at the future in a positive way, so we can create a positive future. Thanks very much for listening. And now I'm ready for some questions. We're going to have a live debate. So I look forward to getting the tough questions from you and to connect them further to discuss this. Thanks very much for listening.
All right, we are here live with Gerd, and we've had a chance to chat for a couple of minutes, and now we're going to have an open Q&A. I have a couple of questions that we'd like to pose to you and just get some additional context and perspective from you. So the first question that we have, well, first I want to say thank you. Your keynote was amazing. So let me start with that. And I think it was excellent for us to help frame how we approach the change that's coming. I love that you talked about co-creating. That was a theme that we talked about earlier today with our defining moments, how we learn from the past, but as we pivot and look to the future, applying Janusian thinking and thinking about how we can co-create together. So we're really excited, and just thank you for all the wisdom and insights and research that you shared with us. And so our first question for you is, could you share with us what innovations other schools are employing to address the needs for a better future, what you've seen?
Well, we have really a lot of strong indications around the world of how schools are changing, whether it's, from a regular school and even preschool all the way up to universities. For example, in Finland, now there's a lot of schools who are teaching by theme and topic rather than by subject matter. Right, so you attend a class and it's not English, French, or history, whatever. It is going to be climate change, right? And that's 3 months of that. So there's science, there's math, there's social studies, there's politics, all wrapped up into the topic. And we have quite a few of those efforts already going on in Denmark and Singapore to have a more holistic education, right? And of course, I think generally there's a trend towards saying, if machines are becoming, I wouldn't say intelligent, but if machines are becoming smart, there is no way we can beat machines at memorizing, right? But we definitely beat hands down the machines at creativity, even though machines can fake creativity. So a lot of schools are shifting towards more humanities, more EQ, not just IQ, right? More being able to actually invent your own thing. And this is happening here in Switzerland. Also, a lot more vocational training, like you guys are doing, a lot more micro certificates. Like now around the world in various schools and colleges, I just did a whole thing for Canada. It's quite popular in Canada to have a micro degree, for example, in social media, right? I think that's the future. We're going to find people say, okay, I have to figure out how to construct a business in the metaverse, right? Nobody knows anything about the metaverse. So you start from zero and you learn on demand.
Well, that's exciting because we have some faculty here that have embraced an interdisciplinary approach with our Highland campus, where we have our creative careers. And then also we have quite a few staff and faculty that are embracing new learning environments in the metaverse as well. So this is exciting to hear.
You know, it's a bit hard, you know, it's a bit hard for teachers sometimes because the constant change factor means the curriculum is constantly morphing as well. So the past curriculum tried and tested is still not, it's not useless, but it has to morph into a future where it's fit for the future, right? And so, for example, you know, I learned Greek and Hebrew and Latin when I went to school, and it did not prepare me for being an entrepreneur, you know? So you have to ask the question, what will our kids need to make up their own job and to create their own future and to work remotely and to be creative? You know, they need other things. And I think this is why, for example, MBAs are completely changing upside down, because, you know, the logic of that is you'll never have a fixed job again in your life when you're 20 years old. So, you know, this is a challenge for the staff also, because, you know, constant flexibility and agility requires resource.
So with what you're saying, one question that many of our faculty ask is, how do we balance the curriculum to offer technical skills and the what we call power skills, or the humanities and interpersonal skills?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I think there's really no black or white answer here. It's just like some people say that about 40% of what a person is, it's kind of fixed through various factors. So you may have a great talent for technology and science and math, and you may also be a musician, because they hang together, really, right? So I think a college has to be ready to do whatever comes its way without having too much emphasis on a preset path. But I think what's really wrong is to assume that science, technology, engineering, and math is kind of the ticket, right? That was really true until, let's say, 5, maybe 8 years ago. And now it's clear that as technology is improving, it can actually do some of the work itself, right? Like programming, language translation, and so on. And so our human-only skills are much more in demand. That includes imagination, foresight, negotiation. And so I think a college has to be ready to emphasize on different levels in different moments. But as I always say, technology alone will not save us. It is just a tool, right? So a personality trait, which is, for example, openness, agility, awareness, consciousness, you know, those are personality traits. They're becoming much more important because machines don't have personalities. You know, they're just algorithms. So, and I think we should have a curriculum that gets everybody in science to also do humanities, and everybody in humanities to also know how to program. You know, I think that would be a very good combination to say, you know, why do I need this? Well, because you have to be, as I said in the speech, an awesome human, not just an awesome engineer. Apart from being, you know, a genius, the Jimi Hendrix of engineering, they probably can just do that, you know. But generally speaking, it needs much more holistic view to be the ticket for the future.
I managed a couple of those Jimi Hendrix of technology. We typically, the soft skills and the power skills tend to rise at some point with the prima donna personalities.
Yeah.
What would you say what would you describe as trends in education to help build a sustainable future?
As trends, you mean?
Trends in
Trends,
education.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, first, it's quite clear that sustainability, or as I said in the speech, the planet aspect and the people aspect of what we do is becoming larger than anything else before. Because now with COVID and now with the war, Russia-Ukraine, at least here in Europe, and the whole automation technology thing, we are realizing that the planet as such is an ultimate condition to our, and we're part of it, right? To our future. It's not something that's kind of an optional thing. You know, like humans don't exist in the VR, right? They exist in real life. And so now we're realizing, I think sustainability is no longer an afterthought. It is core, it's the center of everything that we are, you know, connected with real life, with nature, with other people. And that's making a big comeback. So I think we're having a kind of renaissance moment, like in the 15th century, Leonardo da Vinci, where all of a sudden we're like, okay, it really matters to be human. It matters to take care of the planet. And sustainability is in the center of everything, whether you're in a tech business or in a food business. And that's going to be, especially with the bill that was just signed, the IRA bill in the US, right? And the CHIPS bill, we're looking at this becoming big green and big blue, you know, big tech. That's the ticket. And I think for Austin, clearly, you have big blue, right? You have tech.
Absolutely.
And now the big green, you know, I think it was Larry, the guy who runs the biggest fund in the world, BlackRock, Larry Fink, I think is his name. He said the next 100 unicorns, billion-dollar companies, will be in climate technology. And I think it's quite clear this is our ticket. And if we get it right, we can have an amazing future. And it's not just something that costs money, it's also something that makes money, right? Sustainability.
The impact. That's profound.
Right.
Another question for you. What would be your advice for educational institutions to remain flexible and adapt quickly to changes in the job market?
You know, I think I would somewhat tie it to compensation. You know? I think that would be, I mean, if you create something that really works, then maybe compensation should be a little bit higher. I would tie it also to being more public about what happens in those classes. So sharing what's happening there, live streaming, you know, creating this virtual environment in a way, and to incentivize people is also to give them room, you know? So like in many companies, we have this bizarre definition of what's called KPIs, right? Performing index, right? It's the most bizarre metric. It's like GDP, and nobody knows what it actually means. And now we have to switch to what I call KHI, the key human index. Like, how much change are you bringing? How much are you incentivizing others? Do you have compassion for, and can it be felt, right? So those are the points that should be moved to the foreground, and just being kind of like a placeholder, which is sometimes what happens when you do a class for 14 years, right? You know, that needs to be refreshed. So I think it's incentivizing and also just providing a fertile ground for ideas.
And what tips or insights would you share with us to help build and nurture the innovative spirit within our faculty, staff, and administrators?
You know, I think I would put the sort of future mindset requirement center stage by saying that, you know, going forward, we're all going to spend 45 minutes every day in the future. And I'm not talking about Netflix here, I'm talking about, you know, reading books and getting together. And I would start like a future group, a future think tank at the college to say, what does the future of what we do looks like? And to encourage people to take one leg in the future and keep operating the present, right? The major issue here is clearly that everybody already is overworked in so many ways by working too much. So now we're going to add another agenda item that wouldn't work, right? So we have to free them up to say, well, you know what, there's time for you to look at future focus ideas. And there's a place where that happens. And before you know it, then this future mindset starts to spread and innovation happens just because people are aware of what's going on.
That's great. There's great wisdom and great things for application and action. One final question we have for you. What can we do to build a positive view of the future despite the current social, political, and economic challenges?
I think this is a question of narrative. You know, the narrative about the future shouldn't be only with politicians who have usually a sort of short fuse of the future. Or, you know, right now the major narrative of the future is with tech companies. You know, they're telling us what it is. So there needs to be a new narrative that says, okay, there's all the amazing things happening here. There's all this possibility. We will not be unemployed because a computer knows how to drive a little bit, right? And to create narrative. And to create narrative means to create media, for example, videos, public sessions, events, to get the good future, as I call it, to get that message out there and say the future is better than we think, to create hope. And I think the primary way of doing that nowadays is video. You know, to have events around this topic and to have the narrative, to take over the narrative, take it back rather, with a positive view.
Well, Gerd, I can't thank you enough. We really appreciate you taking time to have this live Q&A with us today and then sharing all your wisdom and insight and research for our keynote. We appreciate you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Good luck in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Humphrey, and thank you so much, Gerd, for being with us today. I'm a believer that when things are meant to be, everything falls into place. And what an opportune time to engage a futurist like Gerd as we begin work on the new strategic plan and kick off our 50th anniversary celebration. Our lives are filled with defining moments, moving from who we are to who we will be. We're excited to be on this transformational journey together. The event recordings, Gerd's visuals, and all presentations will be shared on the General Assembly website, and I have a few housekeeping things to share with you. For our online audience, the virtual afternoon sessions will begin at 1:30 and are all related to key topics in our conversations about the future and strategic priorities. Zoom links can be found on the General Assembly website. If you are with us here today, you're encouraged to stay for the in-person strategic planning session. We ask that after selecting your lunch, which will be outside, you find one of the representatives from the Institutional Effectiveness team under Mary Harris, and they will be here giving you a ticket so that you can go to the designated table. They have a strategic way that they want everybody to sit. So you take your lunch and then get your ticket and move to the table that you will be assigned. If you're unable to stay with us, feel free to grab a lunch and make your way to the buses that will be departing from the designated locations. If you parked in the garage, please make sure you pick up a parking validation from the information table outside, or you may be in line with people behind you like Dr. Rhodes. The General Assembly survey link will be sent out later this afternoon, and you can also find it on the General Assembly app. I also want to finalize this program by thanking those who helped make this event possible. Over a year of planning, hundreds of meetings, thousands of hours, and many wonderful dedicated people worked tirelessly on the things that you see and many things that today you do not see. Brett, Jessica, and their teams were close collaborators with us on this event. And thanks to the TLED planning team, Matt Evans as the project manager, Balan Villanueva and his team, making the magic with AV, Rachel Barrera and her team on communication, Sarah Schultz on vendor tables and survey, Corinne Carradine and her team on the app, Victor Cibaja Molina, Rich Brown and the instructional video team on the event videos, Miguel de Leon coordinating contracts, transportation, venue, and catering. Truly a 3 C's example project. And last but not least, thank you for attending today and being part of the ACC defining moments through the years. Thank you.
Everybody, hey, it's time to wake up. Are we ready? Things are gonna shake up. Can you feel it? Feel it on the inside. Nothing's gonna stop us. Nothing's gonna stop us now. We can always reach a little higher. Find a way to light a little fire. Turn it up and never let it down. You know nothing's gonna stop us. Nothing's gonna stop us. been this far before. This could be the defining moment. This could be the defining moment. History will unfold before us. This could be the defining moment of our lives. Can you hear it? Hear it getting louder. Lift your voices now, we're feeling prouder. I'm moving on and never looking back. You know nothing's gonna stop us. Nothing's gonna stop us now. I'm gonna jump and shout and join the party. I'm never gonna doubt, 'cause this is our day. Bring it on and take it to the top. You know nothing's gonna stop us. Nothing's gonna stop us now. We've never been this close before.